Welcome
to
and back.
Immersive
Reactions.
Da-da-da-da.
We're half together right now. And today we're going to be going through Game of Thrones Histories and Lore Season 5. We're going to be going through just talking and doing some lore talk. And we have our resident Game of Thrones scholar along with us today.
Honorable scholar.
I forgot to do this one second. Maria, are you there still?
Yes, I'm here. Hi guys. So
are you listening to the stream? Do you does the sound good to you?
It's good. I turned it all the way down though because it was driving me crazy to hear you.
If anything, I can go back later and adjust the audio. Yeah. Okay. I don't know why. Okay. My bit rate was so low. I upped it a little bit. Okay. Half of these things I should have checked before, but I haven't live streamed in so long that I forgot.
It happens.
It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, Maria, would you like me to give you a view of what's going on our screen?
Yes, please.
Yeah, that's what I want to see if is that good?
So I can see basically the same thing that's on YouTube?
Yeah, I suspect that's the best way to do it because I'm going to be like sharing my screen and like talking about what's on the screen.
Alrighty, so I could close the YouTube one maybe.
Yeah.
Let's see.
If you want.
Yes.
All right. Glad I got that figured out. I thought to myself, I'm like, she cannot see anything at all. Okay. So, what do you think, Maria? Do you think we should go through Histories and Lore first, or do you want us to go through some of the behind the scenes and the photos?
You know, I think it would be a good idea to do a little bit of a recap of the season with the beautiful deaths, maybe. So then we can delve more into the lore and into the deleted scenes and so on and so forth.
100%. All right, unblur my screen. Hopefully that's semi-visible. Okay, so deleted scenes first, probably. That's what I'm thinking. And then more like talking while we look at the art.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it to it.
I don't think anyone else is here, but if you have any comments or questions, leave them down below. We're going to get into it.
Sunday, he not.
I wanted to speak with you.
Why do you come?
The Unsullied may be trained to face any enemy, but the Sons of the Harpy have no face. This enemy does not stand and fight. They hide in the shadows and kill, and then return to the shadows. I am afraid for you.
This one is not afraid.
I did not say you were afraid.
Unsullied have no fear.
I said I was.
Why you are afraid?
Why are you afraid?
Why are you afraid?
For you. I am afraid that something bad is going to happen to you.
This is before the Barristan fight.
Bad will happen.
You will be careful.
Careful.
You will protect yourself.
Why is this not in the show?
I protect.
This is a great scene.
White Rat, the Unsullied. I have heard they found his body in a brothel. I have heard more than one Unsullied has been known to visit Meereen's brothels. I ask you why? Why would an Unsullied go to a brothel?
I do not know. I must go.
That's the actual scene. All right.
They should have kept the other one.
Yeah, it does a lot of character development with them. It's leaning so heavily in that direction. I don't know why it wasn't kept. Maybe they just didn't want to be so... I don't know. Maybe they don't.
So syrupy with the romance.
Yeah.
Maybe. But it was also probably a pacing problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe they just ran out of things to cut the episode down. Yeah. I'm 100% on...
Builds it though. The reason.
Yeah.
When his return comes back and he wakes up though.
They just don't want to build it so soon, perhaps.
You know that scene where after the Barristan fight, he wakes up and he tells her that he was afraid not of dying, but of never again seeing Missandei of North. That kind of comes with a very large punch. Yeah. And I think if they had already introduced it, it would have been lesser effect, perhaps.
Yeah, that's the aha moment, the reveal that he actually does feel the same way.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Huh. Okay. Let's do the next one.
Did you miss me?
It is good you are back. You can help us patrol the streets. Good job for you.
And how is Mr. Certainly is. It's going well between you two? Seems like
Never
it's
see
going well.
another second son ever.
If you got to the problem,
That guy standing behind them.
it'd be difficult working through that one. Listen, we're friends. The time comes and you need someone to give her what you can't. She can close her eyes and think of you. You're right. It is a good thing the Queen has us back here helping you. And Sullied are too conspicuous.
My God. Okay. That one I can see a little more why they cut more of than the first one. I mean, it does add a little bit to their characterization between each other because their interactions they interact quite a bit actually.
You know, as far as Dario's kind of raunchy comments go,
Yeah.
I think they hit the sweet spot when he's leaving Daenerys's apartments on the top of the Great Pyramid after they spent the night together, and he runs into Jorah. And he's like, yeah, she's in a good mood.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe this was overkill, probably.
Yeah. I can see it more than the first one. There really didn't need to be another one of those moments.
That's it.
That's it.
Blade won't last unless you give it more oil, especially in a humid climate.
What do I give a shit if the blade lasts?
Where's the tool of your trade?
I'm the tool of my trade. Weapons, armor, lucky underclothes. I don't get attached. Bad idea in my sort of work. Once fellow in the Stormlands run back onto the battlefield for his favourite sword. Put an arrow in the eye for his trouble.
You'd feel differently about it if you'd ever had a real sword.
Right. It's always different with true quality.
Everyone can't afford quality thinks quality is a myth.
Your richness. Seems to me like I was pretty damn close to affording quality before you came along. Seemed like I'd taken up residence in my own castle.
A man like you. 6 months into a life of leisure and you'd hang yourself from boredom. Trust me, this is far better.
That's easy for you to say. I never had a life of leisure. I was looking forward to starting one.
Awesome.
Oh, your richness.
I'm Bronn had a moment there that he could have definitely inserted a joke about Jaime's hand.
Yep.
Like talking about losing precious things and stuff.
That would have been.
He's had enough, though, I think. Isn't Bronn like over the brothers?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Last one, and then we're into discussion.
Enjoying your stay here. Keeping warm. Enough food.
Mutton's a bit tough.
You know what I think we should do with you? Instead of putting food in your belly and a roof over your head.
Probably something I wouldn't like very much.
No, you wouldn't.
You must no longer be in charge then.
Oh no.
That man walks away.
You must no longer be in charge then.
As if Thorne needed another reason to hate the West.
Yeah. And I can see that like foreshadowing the inevitable what's going to happen. There was a lot of good stuff. I think I only really disagreed with 2 of them, or 1 of them at most. But I am definitely not a less is more person. Anything you can give me,
I want it all.
Yeah, just making sure everything's right in the world right now. Oh no, why is that? I don't want that.
Yeah, you probably want to keep that one open somewhere so you can use it. Scroll down to the section that's actually the start. Scroll down.
Oh, I did not know it was multi-paged.
Wow.
Okay,
details.
this is do you want us to guess the beautiful deaths and then confirm them?
Yes, let's play.
Okay. Wait, is there a 5x1?
Okay.
First of all, who is this? Who's dying?
It looks like someone's being
Behold the
set on
fate
fire.
of those who choose darkness. Oh, is this Mance Raider getting burned?
Yes.
Ah.
I was looking for an
Wow.
arrow in his chest to confirm, but I don't know why my screen's so weird, but alright. And we'll look at the Mance is burned alive, base of the wall, flames creating golden crown on his head, spectators shrouded in shadow and ice and fire image come together to form upside down arrow.
Oh!
I did not notice that.
We gotta go back to it.
Yeah, I should keep this up.
Oh, there's the arrow. You see it? The flame. Oh,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I did not notice the arrow.
Wow.
Symbolizing
the one
the
John used for.
downside. Yeah, gotcha. Here we are. And this is Daenerys holding scales, her judgment over killing the one guy. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
But
Mossador was the name of the former slave.
she placed him in the thought that it was going to balance out the killing that he had done, but
It's got wings in the background and everything. And the hands.
The harpy behind her holding what looks to be like wings, which like the statue that was on top of the pyramid had wings. That's what I would guess. Daenerys is depicted in the foreground holding scales of justice with blood dripping from them. On her dress, the imprint of blood, the former slave Massador. Behind her, a gigantic harpy operating in the background, about to capture her two gigantic hands. With two gigantic hands, the harpy has blood coming out of its eye holes of the mask, reminiscing in the harpy of Massador killed and pinned to the wall. The gigantic hands could also symbolic of the raised hands of other former slaves.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Ah.
Yeah.
Do you see the shape of the man there? Yeah, exactly. His dress.
Dang.
Yeah. I saw it. And the
now I see the blood from the heart record. See that first. Wow.
My one question that wasn't confirmed is the wings that Daenerys has. Is it just signifying the deity that was sitting on the pyramid?
Yes, essentially that's the symbol and the entire culture of old geese, right, is based on the harpy. So that essentially, if you remember, I think it was the very first moment they arrived in Meereen, after they took the city and crucified the masters, they took down the harpy from atop the Great Pyramid.
Okay. Honestly, I did not connect that idol with a harpy when I saw it for the first time. So yeah, I never thought to myself it was a harpy, but we've seen it throughout Slice Bay at different moments. I don't think they've ever confirmed. Maybe they have, and I just missed that section. They probably have.
I mean, they call it the harpy.
Yeah,
just and like sons of the sons of the harpy. The name of this mysterious faction against Daenerys is essentially the ones faithful to the old system, right? Lies is that.
Okay. All right. On number 3, that was a command, not an offer. And Wolfhead Pommel, Sir Jon Snow's sword, executing Janos Slynt, I believe.
Yeah, there's that.
For disobeying his order.
Yes.
Blood. Trying to guess what the X in that is. Or maybe it's just an X. That's all I can pick out. Janos Slynt. Jon Snow's bastard Janos Slynt and his shadow forms a profile of Ned Stark, symbolizing not only the fact that Jon truly inherited his father's honor and values, but also an ironic vengeance. Janos Slynt was in fact the man who betrayed Ned Stark and facilitated his arrest, which led... Does Jon Snow know? That's my question.
I don't think so.
What?
Yeah. It's just poetic. Okay. Exactly what you're saying. Poetic that it would be Jon to avenge his father, collecting I've always been afraid from Slynt before he died.
Yeah. Okay.
That's quite... So, yeah, it's like poetic justice, because it's definitely, if he didn't know, it's just ironic. Is like a man that killed his father thousands and thousands of miles finds himself at the ends of the world at the right time where Jon Snow, his bastard, disobeys an order and is executed by him, are so coincidental that it's almost fated in a way. It's almost like fate. Wow. That's crazy. I made my choice long ago.
They're snakes, I see.
I'm guessing like snakes associated with the group of...
Oh, there's a sword there too.
Daughters.
Out of the mouth.
Yeah, I don't know. This one's the hardest one so far. But I'm just guessing like I made my choice long ago.
That's what Obara Sand says.
Okay. Yeah, I was on the right track. The insignias, which look like insignias over the...
Is that sand?
Is it the skull of... It is sand. It's Dorne in the...
She did say that the sand snakes are with me. Those snakes represent the sand snakes that are with her? Okay.
Yep.
Good catch.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I honestly... Oh, I was... Okay, I was off a little bit. I was way overthinking it. The captain... it was the captain's skull. When they lifted the basket and he's buried in the sand.
Oh, and that girl throws the spear.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it wasn't a spear. Was it a spear or was it a dagger? No, it was. Yeah.
Look at me.
Who's paying attention?
Bribe with a bag of gold. You see the coins. Oh,
those are coins.
By Jaime in order to keep quiet and decided to immediately contact sand snakes. Also in the illustration wrapped tight around the skull, who is Oberyn's daughters. Yep. And tell them about it, probably expecting a reward. We see Obara's spear across the skull of the dead man, exiting from the mouth, resembling the tongue, the same tongue that got him killed. There's also a subtle reference to the coat of arms of House Martell, the red sun pierced by a golden. Yeah. Wow. There's a lot in there.
Woo! It's just layers and layers.
Yeah.
But perfectly done.
There's a lot.
Do you see it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. That one's the best one, and it got me. The imagery was definitely harder to pin down than that one, but makes complete sense now.
It was a minor death. I mean, it wasn't like a named character or anything, so.
True. All cannot die in glory. I see. I can't pick out whose sword that is up there, or if it's just a generic sword.
There's some harpies on the ground, aren't there?
There is harpy masks.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's like the aftermath of the city like falling apart, and bees and the former slaves battling each other, and just like the amount of people who have died in that fight. I don't see a specific character here that's represented. I just see the overall tumult.
All cannot die in glory.
Of Meereen. Yeah. That's what I guess. Oh! Barristan. It's in the bold. Oh! I did not connect it to Barristan. Sir Barristan managed to kill many harpies before finally succumbing to his wounds. They see a variety of graveyard skulls, harpy masks in the ground with a triumphant sword on top. The sword in the position is also reminiscent of gravestones. Yeah, we know that Barristan died. The artist gives a subtle homage. I should have thought about what episode it was too. I should have thought 5x5. What's happening in 5x5?
Even the wheat on the flag is in the photo. I didn't connect that. Wow, man, that's a tricky one.
It's a little tricky because I don't know what Barristan's sword looks like in particular, so like I missed that. Artist gives a subtle homage to Selmy with the stalks of wheat on the ground, a callback to the coat of arms of. Okay, so that's definitely something I wasn't aware of.
3 stalks
if it was
yellow, wheat, and brown. Wow.
If I ever saw his coat of arms, I definitely wasn't super like all of the. I don't think is his coat of arms like on his armor.
It is depicted in a few spots. Yeah. Like you can see it for a fraction of a second in the book of the Kingsguard.
Oh, okay. When Jaime's like going through it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just so subtle and so short, you don't even notice it.
Yeah, definitely not for a first time viewing to see something such as that. Okay. Okay, I gotta think about the episode. You never stop playing.
Okay, so for one, now I know that those are the faces, and I'm pretty sure that's a girl cleaning. There's liquid coming out of it. It kind of looks like a
specific girl.
I'm assuming.
Maybe it's the other girl, I'm not sure. It looks like Ari.
Blonda. The fire, I'm not sure where. All I can think of is the Lord of Light, but don't they do the many-faced god, which is obviously right there?
No, it's showing the interior of that entire chamber that they go into, and they're referring to the Game of Faces when they're talking about this. The flames at the bottom and the smoke surrounding it, I'm not quite sure what that signifies, and maybe there's a more specific specific reason why they're pouring out blood here beyond the fact that they.
After they clean the bodies, you go down a staircase. And it goes like that. Wasn't there like flames? Is that what it's signifying?
I don't remember. No, I do remember, but that seems such a small detail to include in this for it not to be like it is. That's a huge in the entire. It's a skull.
Oh, now I see it.
With blood, the smoke is in the shape of a skull.
Yeah, good catch.
I have to look like it's layered. You have to look a lot deeper. And The girl or Arya's face is in one of the slots.
Yes, it is. I know. Oh, dang.
And she's missing a face. All these other ones have facial features. Faceless.
That's a fantastic catch, because she is... Who is she?
Faceless man. No one, yeah.
Right.
That one, to be honest, my brain sometimes is like an 1800s engine. It just needs like time to get going. Sickly girl and all the others who seek death at the House of Black and White. Arya finally is starting to be able to lie convincingly. She learns slowly and painfully, and she is able to convince the sickly girl to drink from the water in the well in the temple, kills the girl without pain. Behind Arya is a gigantic wall of faces, callback to the many-faced god and the fate of those who seek the gift of death there. But if you squint your eyes, you can see the form of a giant skull on top of Arya's head and the bridge of the nose, while the flames are the teeth. Oh, the flames are the teeth. Okay. Okay, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
That was incredible. I'm surprised I actually was able to get most of that.
You're getting them now.
Yeah.
You're looking at the right things.
Now his fire has gone out.
Okay, this is specific. This is very specific. Oh my god, who died? Oh!
Maester, right?
Yeah. Oh my
all the people.
god.
There's like people in the
I
little...
get this. Oh, I get this one.
Ah.
Oh my god.
Yes.
That's so cool.
He's right there.
He's a Targaryen. It's like souls leaving his body. It's like a...
Wow.
And then the people in the background. Is there anything left in the smoke up here?
Besides Sam to the left.
Yeah, that is Sam. And he has the flame torch and here part of it. But wow.
I wonder what the top shapes are.
Top shapes.
They look
Yeah,
like they're supposed
I was
to be,
looking
but
through it and I don't think I see anything. I think it just...
I think that's just like the shape of the wings, like how the wings are between the cartilage, I suppose.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the wings of the dragon.
Oh, okay, I see now.
Yeah, backing down. Is there anything else in here? Besides snow falling. That is such a good depiction.
Is there a wolf in that photo too, or is that just his hand? Maester Aemon's hand. That looks like a hand.
It's just his hand.
Yeah.
That was good. Maester Aemon Targaryen. Samwise Tarly in the background with a torch in his right hand. The torch is being used to set the funeral pyre of Maester Aemon ablaze. From the torch, enveloping the body of Maester Aemon, the fiery dragon rises. The flames and smoke spread dragon wings. Aemon's hair is now glowing white, a reminder of his Targaryen heritage. Yeah, that's one of the best ones for me.
Wow.
I love that one. Wow. There's a lot in here.
Yeah.
Holy.
So that's when the long night is coming and the dead come with it. That's when they go to that village.
Hardhome, yeah.
Yes. Before you know it, all those crazies are coming. The whites.
They're climbing over the palisades.
And they're done. Yes.
They're coming down. They're breaking through the wall.
And there's Jon slashing that one. See?
Yep.
With his...
I was going from top to bottom. I was trying to go from top to bottom. We're jumping around. Yep, Jon Snow is cutting the White Walker with his Valyrian steel sword, and all the whites around and disappearing. But we have the picture of the meeting house that they go into in the background. Whites everywhere, dropping down, falling off the cliff. And then we have the lead,
and which you have other ones in the back on the hill.
I'm trying to get that. Cutting me
Sorry,
off
I go everywhere.
I'm getting there. You can say whatever you want, but yeah, the lead guy commanding all of it and raising his hands like he raised his hands when Jon Snow left on the boat to bring them back to life.
His whole body is the entire his arms are resting on top of the walls. His body is a wall.
So I'm gonna say the White Walkers are like a hive mind. Is that not correct?
Yeah, essentially, because they don't have a mind of their own, so they're guided and directed by the White Walkers. So yeah.
And is it spoilery to ask? It probably is. Where the White Walkers came from? Like what?
Yes, it is spoilery.
Oh.
Because my questions are now because I was thinking to myself, like, why are the White Walkers taking the forms of men in humans?
That's a good question. I would urge you, without any story intent, to think about the timeline for a second. So if you go back to the, I know it's been a while since you've watched it, but if you go back to the season 1 Histories and Lore, where Bran talks about the Long Night.
Yeah.
It was thousands of years before they talk about this long night when the White Walkers first came from the north and they lay waste to kingdoms and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So you would have to think about what else was going on.
Yeah.
You would have to think about what else was going on at the time and what era. Was it the Andals, the First Men? What was happening at that time? So I think that would be a good kind of direction to go into if you're curious about that, without spoiling anything, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have to retouch on that video. And these are things that they talk about in the books too, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There are some things that are more within the story, like some things you hear because it's in some book by some maester or something, you know? So...
Okay.
Yeah.
Understandable. These are great.
Oh, we have to go back to 5.8, the description.
Oh, yeah. The massacre at Hardhome, the Night King looming menacingly above, over his countless minions, resurrected whites with bright blue eyes, his arms raised in a gesture raising the dead, and underneath them the big gates of Hardhome, now open, coming to the coming invasion. In the background, we see the lieutenants of their dead horses on top of the cliffs. In the foreground, we see Jon Snow seen killing one of the White Walkers, instantly turns to ice and shatters to the wind. On the right side, we see one of the white children who...
Lieutenant?
Okay. Yeah. Right there, we see... Remember the woman who...
Yes.
Was attacked by the White Walker children? She couldn't bring herself to do anything. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
By the way, if you guys ever watched Pitch Perfect 2...
No.
She's in that as well, and she's really cool.
Yeah, we're definitely not,
Yeah, we're not...
We are lacking in that department, for sure. I didn't have a TV for 10 years, so...
Well, it's obviously Daenerys, we can tell by the yellow hair. She's got a dragon around her.
Yep. It's, yeah. It's when she goes to the fighting pits, and she views the fights, and then during the sequence where beats the competitors, he throws the spear, and then they get into the middle of the arena to try to escape, and her dragon that's been gone forever comes back at the
last minute,
the last moment, and takes her. Well, she gets on him or her. I don't know. I'm not sure the genders of the dragons. Nobody is. Okay.
Until they eggs, you can't know. So.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
There he is.
And then burning of
the harpy. That's a harpy.
The harpies.
Right?
Yeah, the harpies were attacking them.
Dang.
In the great, like the Colosseum of Meereen, where they're doing the fights, and she escapes. She escapes away. And we'll read that. I'm pretty sure I got that. So we see Daenerys with her dragon, choker. Yep. Oracle coming to life as Drogon protecting her, burning the sons of the Harpy. The men in gold masks in their faces are being burned to a crisp. The scene is a turning point in the show as it marks the moment Daenerys becomes a true dragon rider, the first one in centuries. I don't know if up until this point, even though she just got Drogon back, I don't think they were ever big enough for her to ride. Maybe the other two are, but she just hasn't tried.
Why would you think that the other two would be bigger than Drogon?
No, I don't think I don't know.
Remember in season 3 when she was selling one dragon in exchange for the Unsullied?
Yeah.
The guy said they want the biggest one of the 3.
Oh, okay. I'm pretty sure in Histories and Lore at one point, I remember too that something about when the dragons are like confined to a space, they don't grow.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So Drogon's been roaming free across the entirety of Essos.
So he's bigger. Just for that fact?
Why don't they grow? I don't understand.
Because they're confined.
Place to fly, place to eat whatever they want, place to fly however much they want, not being chained.
If someone locks you in a cage and doesn't feed you that much and you can't exercise, you're going to wither away to nothing.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah. Okay. I did that. Yes. Oh.
You got some blood on a tree.
Go on, do your duty.
I remember this.
Yes, it's what Stannis says to Bran.
Yep.
And she finds him in the woods after the very I think Stannis was just I don't understand Stannis in that moment. All the moments leading up is just one like
I think he gave up.
I don't know if he gave up or not. Like I can't pin him down. He is staying true to himself, that he's stubborn and he's going to go through with it to the end, etc. And I think he just lost the will to once his daughter died,
and then his wife,
especially once his wife died,
Hmm?
and Melisandre leaves. I think he just lost the will to live. And if it's only that, then it's only that. But like,
I did send you. I sent in the. I sent the original script that was cut down. So if you can just take a look at that, I think you will find it extremely interesting.
Okay. Brienne, do you have any last words? Stannis considers. Do you believe in the life to come? Do you believe in the life to come? Brienne nods. I don't. But if I'm wrong, and you're right, tell Renly I'm sorry when you get there. Don't imagine I'll see him wherever I'm going. And my daughter, tell her, sorry doesn't begin to cover what he feels about Shireen. Is that a thought? The thought that brings tears to his eyes. He does not going to die weeping in front of a woman he doesn't know. Stares up at her. Go on, do your duty. Bran raises her sword and brings it down with a mighty swing. That was cut out.
I think that kind of tells a little bit more of what you were wondering about, Dorne.
Yeah, okay. We see, obviously, another deer in there. Maybe representing his, like...
That'd be his, like...
his house, obviously, but, like, maybe it's his wife? And then a little deer in the background, maybe representing his daughter. And then, obviously, the tree getting slashed from him getting attacked by Brienne, murdered by Brienne, and then the sword and the blood on the ground. There's a little deer in the background, so I'm guessing him, his wife, and his daughter. Although we do not see the gory details, Brienne finally sentences Stannis to death, executes him. We see the mark of the sword in the tree where Stannis was cut. Hello, Marie. We cut in the tree resembles a vague shape of the crown. An overview of the entire piece reads as a tombstone.
Oh.
Wait, overview of the time? Let me see. Oh, I did not notice.
Oh, that's a what? Okay. Yeah.
What do you think about the representation of these? Think I'm like sort of onto something?
Finish reading.
Oh, sorry. Favorite all of them is chance to represent the tragic family of Stannis, Selyse, Shireen, represented the stag and the doe, and the fawn melting away.
Oh, you go.
Oh, well, there you go.
Congratulations.
I did it.
Back in just a second.
Yep.
I mean, at this point, considering that you're now graduated to being able to interpret these yourselves, I think it would be fun to go back and see the other 4 seasons, because the first time we went through them, it was like, yeah, these look nice, yeah. So, but
okay.
I don't think
I understood the task. Maybe I didn't understand. I was supposed to guess. Maybe you told me and I just didn't. It was not getting through to me at the time.
Maybe I took it for granted, although I didn't specifically say it.
Yeah.
So maybe that was it.
I'm a little
but it's really
sometimes.
cool.
I do really enjoy like the depictions of the art, and I can see why I did not appreciate it at the time. I wasn't really looking too deeply into it. I was looking at the surface level, and yeah, there's a lot there. And if they are all that way, we could probably go back and look through them. I'll probably do that in separate video, just for the sake of brevity of this one. But
oh yeah, for sure.
And honestly, we can open this up to anything you want to talk about, because I do want to do the Histories and Lore part at the ending. Like whenever Histories and Lore ends will be the end of the stream. So
alrighty. Well, I mean, if we are to talk about the discussion, the actual what happened during this season, I think it would be a good place to start just talking about the Stark children and where they're at, each of them. What's the situation they're in?
Arya's found herself within... I still don't really understand... I understand what the organization of the Faceless Men is, but I don't understand like their goal overall, or if it's just simply collecting the faces to, and for instance, like Melisandre hears voices from the Lord of Light. I don't know where they're getting their kind of marching orders from. It's very cryptic in that way. So, and overall, I don't know what its purpose is here, what it is to, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be answered later.
All right. So, considering that I think the House of Black and White and in general the Faceless Men are my absolute favorite organization within the world. So if you don't mind, I will take some time to talk about it a little bit more. So you will see it in Histories and Lore later, but Braavos was founded by former slaves who escaped and founded the secret city of Braavos.
Yeah.
It was hidden in the canals. No one could know where it was.
Yeah.
So essentially, what happened was that one night, one heard one of the slaves praying.
Yeah.
The life they had in the Valyrian forges, because you have to know the Valyria was like the 14 fires. It was volcanoes essentially, and they did essentially forging of Valyrian steel and whatever other activities they did, and it was in difficult conditions.
Yeah.
So this slave wasn't praying for the death of his master. This slave was praying for his own death because he couldn't take it anymore.
Okay.
So that was like the first kernel of the Faceless Men. It's a sort of Switzerland clinic where you can go to die with dignity.
Okay. Understand.
You know, the kind of place? Right. So it's twofolded because on the one side, they have the assassination kind of aspect of it, where some person who has been wronged somehow goes and says, this person has done this to me. For example, the thin man, right, that Arya was supposed to kill.
Yeah.
When they say he's a gambler, well, that's not, yes, he's a gambler. He's an insurer.
Yeah.
That's what he does, insurance. People. Right. So he insures boats. So if the boat actually doesn't make it to the destination and the captain's wife doesn't have her money after that happens and is left destitute, then where can she go? Jaqen tells this exactly to Arya. If she has nowhere to go, who can she resort to have justice? Yeah. And the answer is the Faceless Men, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's one side of the operation. The other side of the operation is just going there and dying painlessly.
Yeah.
Which you've seen happen with the sickly girl. Yeah. The man, her father, takes her there. He's like, I've taken her to every healer in Braavos. I have no more money. She's suffering every day. There's no escape from this. I just want it to end.
Yeah.
So that's another part of it. And it's very compassionate.
Yeah.
I've seen many reactors watching this section and not understanding the point of it. Like, what kind of weirdo thing is it? It's a very compassionate kind of institution.
Yeah.
That can help you when there's no other help to be.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand, like, there are, like, places in the world where you can do assisted dying if you have a problem that's not going to get better and you don't want to spend your entire life, like, in the dying, like the rest of your life in the dying process. You can go and assist in that.
Exactly.
It sounds weird to Americans because it is like counter to everything we believe in. Like, you just hold on forever.
Yeah, I think the reason why it's more easily understandable here in Europe is because the existence and the usage of the Swiss clinics that I talked about isn't like a secret or anything. Like, it's normal.
Yeah, I think the UK is doing that too now.
Yeah, and Belgium, I think. There's a few in Europe. But that's one side of the operation. And then again, if you think about the many-faced god in its essence, the many-faced god is not a single deity the way that maybe the red god is, like the Melisandre's red god, for example, nor the old gods, nor the seven. It's only the death aspect of every deity.
Okay.
I don't know if you noticed, but Arya, when she goes into the temple the first time, I see the stranger, right? Yeah. And then I see this one and that one. Well, the stranger is the god of death in the Andal.
Yeah.
The
WESTEROSI.
religion of the seven that they have in Westeros.
Yeah.
It's always only that aspect in all of the religions of the world. Only the death aspect in all of the religions of the world.
Okay.
So the many-faced god is death, in essence.
Okay. Representing all of the different types of deities that represent death throughout the world?
Yes, exactly, because all of the religions in the world have some sort of interpretation and some sort of explanation and some sort of, how you interpret and see death, right?
Awesome.
So that's what's depicted there.
Okay.
And then since there are these different sides to it, so there's the compassionate dying and then there's the assassination. It's perfect because the compassionate dying actually provides the faces that the assassins use to do their job.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a fantastic organization.
Yeah.
And one last thing about it, the price of a killing is very expensive. And when I say very expensive, it's not a matter of money.
Yeah.
The people who actually go and commission an assassination, when they come out, they don't ever talk about what they had to pay for it.
Okay.
And even Littlefinger at one point, when they were talking about sending a faceless man to kill Daenerys, he argued that the price would be prohibitive. Imagine, prohibitive for a kingdom.
Yeah, I can't. So that leaves it very ambiguous to what prohibitive for a kingdom. But in that regard, it says prohibitive for a kingdom. How does anyone pay for it? It's more of a part of their soul is taken.
We don't know.
Okay.
We don't know what the price is. Because if you think about it, I mean, the poor widow also paid the price.
Yeah.
So she's not rich. Who knows what she paid to be able to have that justice? We don't know. We just know that the price is dear. That's the only thing we know.
The one thing I could gather that maybe is as simple as it is, Jaqen always says only death pays for life. So maybe it's simple as that. Maybe it is you to pay for only death pays for life. Yeah.
It's a tricky one because it can have so many interpretations.
Yeah.
But we have Arya there, who's learning to be the most efficient assassin in the Seven Kingdoms, essentially, right?
Yeah. And man, that's gonna be interesting. I hesitate because I was gonna ask what does that mean? What is that gonna mean for the story? But I can't be.
You got to watch the story.
Yeah. I'm in speculator mode, predicting mode. Yeah.
That's Arya. What about Sansa? Rough season.
Yeah. I think out of it, that's a little easier to understand what's going on there. And there's probably a few paths that could take for her. She jumped. She's gone.
She jumped, yes, from the battlements.
I felt like Theon. Risked their entire bodies breaking just to avoid what would happen.
Yeah, honestly, I thought for a second they were going to end their lives.
Anything is better than what they could have gotten.
The show does a very bad job at depicting this, but by now, Winterfell is in winter.
Yeah, it's very deep snow.
Very deep snow.
Yeah. So she's trying to escape. Without that, I was thinking more that she was going to betray them from within, but now that she's on the run, I can see her going to the wall. I can see her perhaps going back to King's Landing. But that's really far-fetched. I don't know why she would do that. The only place I can see her going is to the wall.
If she's going to the wall because she knows that Jon is Lord Commander, she's going to have a very nasty surprise when she gets there. Yeah.
So she's going to nowhere.
If she even survives.
That too.
Oh, I can't handle that. Not right now.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Robb is gone, so all right. Jon is gone.
Yeah.
Bran and Rickon were the big absentees of the season.
Yeah, they were not. Were they not in any episodes?
Nope.
Not a single one.
Not a single one.
What?
I took a vacation from this bullshit.
He's getting his Three-Eyed Raven university training.
Yeah.
So, do you remember when we last saw Rickon and what he was gonna do?
They were going to Last Hearth, to go be protected there by friends of the Star.
The Umbers.
The Umbers.
To be bannermen of the Starks.
Okay.
And Bran is in Three-Eyed Raven PhD mode, so we'll see.
He's in training. It's crazy. Not even a thing from that. I was thinking to myself, like, we haven't seen them in a long time, but
that's a lot.
It didn't click that it wasn't at all during the season. I thought we had the last moment I remember is the Three-Eyed Raven, like in the roots of the tree, and for some reason I thought that had happened somewhere within season 5, but it was in last season.
For 10, it was the children.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so wow.
What were people thinking? Like during the release when you were watching this?
I can talk for myself.
Yeah.
It was especially frustrating because, especially for those of us who had read the books at this point, the books finish with Jon Snow lying in a pool of his own blood in the snow. That's where it ends. That's what we have.
So it ends at basically the end of season 5.
Yes, exactly. So there was no more book material after that.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone was speculating what was gonna, how it was gonna go forward, because at that point you didn't even have any book material to go on.
Yeah. And what is there Bran sections in the book, or do they take a long break from Bran in the books too?
The Bran, okay, so
did I ask a too large question?
The Bran chapters, I think you already see from doing the books that they're very different than what we see in the show.
Yeah.
So
it's not comparable.
I don't think it's comparable because a lot of what Bran does is dream. Okay. And there's a lot of the dreams and the visions and all that's not exactly explored in the show.
Okay.
And there are many more people having dreams and visions than in the show.
Oh. Okay.
And they all mean stuff. And they are all some significant in some way or other,
Okay.
So, for example, I'm just gonna do a little bit of a plug for your book reading part. There's the vision that Bran has.
Yeah.
With what was it? A giant of stone.
Yeah.
With a visor, and the visor was black, and inside was only dried blood or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was looming above Sandor Clegane and Jaime Lannister.
Oh, okay.
That's a vision that Bran has in the 1/3 of the book, maybe, right? That's how, maybe even less, of the first book. Do you know who that figure is, what it's referring to? Can you piece it together? You now at the end of season 5, you have the tools to do it.
Yeah, if I were to okay.
So,
are you talking about the very last episode that we watched?
Maybe.
I don't know that character. Who is that character that they brought back to life?
That would be Gregor Clegane.
Okay. Is that what he's saying?
So, the speculation is that the right. The giant of stone, you have to think about what is giant and made of stone in nature.
Mountains.
And what's the name of Gregor Clegane?
The mountain.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't piece that together. There's a lot that I wish I could capture, but it does slip my mind. It does slip my comprehension from time to time.
The thing with the book especially is that they give some sort of explanation for something that's going to happen in 3 books from now.
Okay.
So it's not like they show you something and then they give you some sort of vision or something. No, they give you the vision in book 1 and then it refers to something that you don't know yet. So it's so hard to make connections. You have to go back and read again.
Yeah.
Which is what also
with the
interesting.
Show, it does make it a little easier, and I can tell that it makes it easier because if I was reading this without context, I think I would be way more lost than I already am with those specific moments where they're talking about foreshadowing things that are not to happen for books in time.
Do you want to be comforted with not a spoiler, but maybe a little bit of book context or not?
Whatever you feel.
I can tell you that within the bounds of season 5, a lot of the nastiest things that you've seen happen in the show don't really happen in the same way or at all in the books.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I honestly, as of, have you read all the chapters I've put out yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I think it hit me sometime after the Bran chapter, the Bran Dream chapter, that I realized that I started to comprehend it, like, to a point where I was enjoying it. Like a first time reaction to things. There's so many more things that are going on in the process of doing the channel and stuff. You almost can't appreciate what you're watching because you're so distracted on which is the unfortunate thing of a reaction, because that is exactly what you're trying to do. But it's like contradictory in that way, where you're trying to focus, but like in the process of focusing on everything, you lose the magic of it.
I can see how that can happen. Yeah.
And with the books, I think I actually gained that feeling, like, of being immersed into the world for like one of the first times, like feeling that feeling where when I was a kid watching Lord of the Rings for the first time and being in awe of it, I felt that feeling, that same feeling of experiencing something for the first time and just being so like gravitated towards it and so in awe of it that I haven't experienced throughout this entire thing. One part because I'm older now and my like creativity is like dulled over time, and like my imagination is dulled over time. That happens when you're older. Like you lose that magic you had when you were younger. And that like experience, that like sensation hit me when I was reading that last chapter. And I was like, wow, okay.
You're going to have more of that because it gets so much richer than it is in the show. A lot of the sets have been cut out. So you're going to find yourself more and more into this very complicated world. And there are a few things that are also open to interpretation still. Like, for example, in the Bran chapter that you mentioned earlier, there was a moment where Bran talks about his mother sitting in a boat with Roderick Cassel.
Yeah.
And somehow not seeing the storm ahead of them. And then the next chapter, you see Catelyn, whose chapter talks about a storm that they went through during the journey to King's Landing. But at the same time, there's another type of storm.
Yeah.
Right? That's ahead of them, that's going to be caused by this whole mess with the assassination attempt and everything. So it's very multi-layered, and you can definitely lose sight of the situation the first time around and not know what they're referring to.
I can see that. Yeah. I have the actual copy of the book. I should, like, while I'm doing the audio, follow along with the book. It's like a digital copy, but I should read the words as I'm going through it because I probably would catch more while doing that.
And it's really cool. I wonder if Becca wants to join the book reading club as well.
When I go to do those, she's fast asleep, and during the day she's doing her own business. I have to scrape for her to pull her away from her other things to get her here most of the time. But we wish we had more time in general to do these things. But we both have 2 jobs, and she has her business and I have my business, and then like just, normal life stuff on top of it. It's a little insane at the moment, but hopefully in the future, if the channel's like doing super well, we can just do this all the time and just absorb ourselves in it in the process. And that's our hopes. We're getting there. It's just slow.
It's gonna be a lot better. And you're also heading to what I consider the best season of this show, which is season 6.
Yeah, we're excited about it. I kind of with the Jon Snow death, it threw me for a loop. So like it is one of those things where I try to predict what's going to happen, and it's where one of those big moments happens and it like dislodges all of the other storylines in my mind and kind of not validates their importance, but like it's just I'm so distracted by the Jon Snow death that I couldn't formulate predictions towards any of the other plots because it just seems so significant.
Remember when the Red Wedding happened and we all thought, oh, what now? Everything is finished. What else can we say? And yet season 4 was a masterpiece.
Best. I honestly, I still like season 4 the best. It was my favorite.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's just the culmination of Tyrion's storyline in totality, and because Tyrion always tried to be in the thick of it with the politics and like ruling the city and he loved it and he loved doing it, but then like him kind of being betrayed and like all of the things that happened to him there, it is his true arc. Like all of the other things of him like ruling and stuff like that was what he wanted to do, but like really the conclusion was like him figuring out all of the issues of his past, like everything that has plagued him, like his sister, his father, like legitimacy and all of that kind of came to a head, and it was solved for him that he isn't going to be legitimate in anyone's eyes ever. It's never going to work. And he kind of was able to at least move on and understand like it's just nothing's ever going to come around for me. I have to make my own way and kind of move on, which was, I think, a huge, at least middle arc for Tyrion. I don't know what the rest of the show is going to be like for him, but it was definitely like a new day for Tyrion after that.
I think it's worth thinking about at this point how capable the various people we've met would be if they had like the absolute power. How capable would they be in ruling, essentially?
Yeah.
And let's not forget what said back in the day when he was instructing Tommen the first time next to his brother's corpse in the Septic Baylor. There are some things that are more important, and getting a throne is not the same as ruling.
Okay, yeah, true. Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of a differentiation between, say, a Daenerys ruling Meereen situation and like someone ruling Westeros. I feel like there's a lot more built up, like infrastructure, for lack of a better word, to help whoever's ruling. And to fail at that task is almost ridiculous in my mind because there is so much support given to the king of Westeros. Like you have armies, you have people around you who you can do trade deals and like you can go get grain over here. You have resources everywhere. You have the King's Guard, you have the City Watch, you have all of this power and support to be a good king. And to fail at that task is almost ridiculous. But it's indicative of like, you have all these resources and you can't pull them together. So there's a lot of people who fail at this, who are just so bad at ruling that with all that's given to them, they still can't do it. Like, which shows like how bad, like how giving power to just the vast few of the monarchy kind of system they have under just doesn't work. Eventually you're going to have a bad ruler and you have them for life.
So what about Tommen? What do we think about him?
I think he's feckless. I don't think he's strong enough. Like I was on Tommen's side. I love his heart at first, but I think he's just way too weak. Merge Joffrey and Tommen together and you have a competent leader.
Yeah.
Because for all Joffrey's issues, at least he was decisive. Like if he wanted to do something, he did it, which you need someone to be decisive to lead. But Tommen, he's so feckless. He's so like unable to make up his mind of what he wants to do, of pushing back against this or or anything, I think he's going to fail as a ruler simply because of that.
So he's not eating.
Yeah.
He doesn't see it.
Yeah.
To be fair, in the books he's 10. So.
True.
Wow. He's very young. Very
and
young.
Like I've reiterated and said before, I think, again, the failure of the first season, the failure of all of these people who are much older than them, much more experienced, to let things languish on the vine and not really control their environment, and then they all die because of whatever the reasons, because they're incompetent, because they're like whoring around, and had him killed because he's not a good leader. I think if Robert was a good leader, maybe the Lannisters wouldn't have made a play for power. It still could have happened, but if Robert was competent, maybe that doesn't happen because he would see something or be a better man to Cersei to make her happy and not ruin everything.
But, it's been 17 years and he didn't even need to be a good ruler because he had a very good hand.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about with like resources, like how the leaders of Westeros have a lot of resources. And that's going into what I was like getting at with what I was saying. Like these people had all the chance to be good, and they just chose to go with whatever their whims were, which is an easy thing to do when you have power. You can just do whatever you want. And those are the failures, the initial failures that didn't seem so bad. Like King Robert dying, that's not so bad. Like it just, he has sons, like everything's set up for them. But then Joffrey comes and he's not really good, and he kind of just messes up the whole situation even more. It's a cascading effect of just very bad handling of leadership all the way down, that leads to this chaos.
How much of an overlap do you feel there is between being a good person and being a good leader?
So I think Tommen's a good person. I don't think he's a good leader. So I don't think a good person, maybe it depends on what you think a good person is, but I don't think it's one and the same. No, I think you can be a good person but not a good leader. I think you could be a good person and a good leader. It really just depends on, yeah.
And arguably, Tywin, we can say, was not a good person, was a fantastic leader.
Yeah.
His years as Hand were the most productive and the most profitable for the kingdoms as well.
Yeah.
Until it all went south, essentially. Yeah. He's losing his mind.
Yeah. And I think Tywin was born to lead. It's that like age-old thing where his father was not a good leader, and he saw that and wanted to prove it wrong and was the opposite of him. So he did everything in his power to be a better leader. So it really takes a certain person to understand that, though. Like, you can't manufacture that. Like, Joffrey saw his father as like maybe nothing he wanted to be like, or he didn't have that same thing with Tywin, where Tywin saw his father as a weak leader who bowed down to and let people mock him in court and let people get away with things. And he's, no, we're not doing that anymore. And that defined his whole life, of those moments of him coming up in his house, where I don't think Joffrey was like more attached to his mother than anything, and got most of his sensibilities from his mother too, and not from his father.
I can see how the show might give that idea. However, I think it's interesting to know that in the books, Joffrey idolizes Robert.
Yeah.
Maybe even to a very weird extent. He wants his approval really badly. And Robert doesn't just give a fuck. Essentially, he doesn't care.
Yeah. Maybe that's the counter to Tywin and like Tywin's father, like whereas Tywin loathed his father and became the opposite of him, Joffrey idolized his father and maybe didn't exactly become him, but was never challenged in his life to be anything different than his father. So he just ended up an amalgamation of Cersei and Robert both, and didn't form his own ideas. He just absorbed them, which I think someone who like doesn't ever have a moment in their life where they form their own opinions, I would generally consider are weaker people who have never thought critically about things in their life. They just absorb everything around them. So there's that too, as a perspective of mine.
Yeah, I think it's quite accurate, actually. There are some pieces of their story in the books that I'm not going to spoil for you, but once we get there, I think it's going to be very interesting to come back to this conversation. What about Daenerys? What do you think about her skills in ruling?
Just about this.
Yeah, I
think she's way more competent and way more capable than everything we've gotten so far in leaders of Westeros. She inhabits all of the characteristics that are at least productive for a leader to have, maybe not beneficial to her overall longevity, because she makes enemies and then deals with them all the time and isn't able to find a diplomatic solution that works out smoothly. So she's constantly trying to find a diplomatic solution, failing to, and then having to use force to deal with it. And I've always thought that Daenerys needs that moment where she figures out a way to conduct herself diplomatically as a leader, and she's trying to figure it out, and she's gaining knowledge from all of her advisors, but it just does not seem like she is getting there. She doesn't seem to be making progress there.
It's very interesting to see how contradictory your depiction of her is. You started the paragraph saying that she's more competent than we've seen.
Yeah.
Ended saying that she's not getting there.
Well, in the diplomatic way. I think, apples to apples, if you were to say Joffrey to, if in the comparison, Daenerys is way better at diplomacy than Joffrey. Maybe against Tommen. Tommen's way more better at diplomacy than action. But as a sum total, Daenerys is better than all of them, because at least she has aspects of each part, whereas Tommen's missing the spine, and Joffrey's missing the diplomacy, completely. It doesn't have a single ounce of it. She has a little bit of it, which makes her a little bit better than her compatriots in this, not compatriots, but whatever the ruling class is, of her peers, similar age rulers of the world.
Let's do a mind exercise for a second, and let's pretend she doesn't want to go to Westeros at all.
Yeah.
Let's say that Meereen is her final destination, because she decided to conquer this bay and rule. That's what she said. I'm going to do what queens do. I'm going to rule.
Yeah.
How is this rule going? What would you... how would you mark it if you were to give it a mark? How she's doing at ruling?
I think there's wins and losses here. It's definitely, she's had more losses than wins lately. I think as an arc, if I'm considering it as a story arc, I think she rose. She was having high marks originally. Karth, slave, the original Yunkai and all of that was going well. Everything was good. She had high marks for success, doing and success. Maybe that's not her complete doing. Maybe it's the people around her that were keeping it together. But I think she was doing wonderfully. I think she's doing as best as she can at this point. So whatever she's at now, maybe middle, in there, like a 65 to 70 out of 100. She's doing the best that she's capable of doing currently on her own.
We have to consider at this point that Daenerys in the books is right now 15, 16.
Yeah.
She was 13 in the first book.
Yeah. She's learned a lot.
She has learned a lot. However, if we look at her accomplishments, Astapor, she burned to the ground and killed the masters and left. Yunkai, she conquered, killed some masters, not all of them, and then left nothing which led to then a butcher called Cleon calling himself his imperial majesty and taking over power in Yunkai while she wasn't there.
Yeah.
So she left a power vacuum that was insane in Yunkai. And then Meereen, she managed to make all of the masters hate her the very first day she got in the city by crucifying 163 of them without a trial.
Yeah.
Then she managed to do the same with the former slaves by killing most in a public display of what she considered to be justice.
Yeah.
So we are rooting for her. But if you strip that away, if you strip the sympathy for the fact that you would like her to do good, what she has accomplished was very insufficient, I might say.
Yeah.
If we're talking just ruling, like good decisions, and I don't think we can even expect those from her because she's so young.
Yeah, she's young. And she, like I said, with the Westeros thing, like Westeros has everything set up. There isn't really anything for, like, put Joffrey in her position where Joffrey's trying to reclaim it or stuff like that by himself without sufficient support where she, like, it's hard to compare because the two are very different. The two, like, situations, because Westeros kind of, for all its flaws, is at least consistent, and where she is, it's there's no foundation. She's just building as she goes. It's hard to compare.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's not even a comparison to be made between her and Joffrey, for example. I mean, they're like worlds apart from all points of view. It's just, a reflection on where she's at and how she sees herself and how her subjects see her. And, if there's a difference between those two things, it's very important to note what it is.
Yeah. I think I'll have more opinions on that as it progresses here, because now she's out of Meereen. So it's going to be interesting to see like dichotomy of her being removed from power and kind of kind of filling the power vacuum in Meereen, and him seeing if his rule versus her rule is any better over the situation.
I'm so looking forward to see season 6 with you guys. As I said, it is my personal favorite season.
That's exciting. Not that I didn't enjoy season 5. I have a personal fondness for season 4 in a lot of ways. So like anything that could potentially top that would be pretty crazy. We're probably gonna get into Histories and Lore now, and we'll stop. If you have something to interject, just say so, but if not, we'll stop like every second section and talk about stuff. But if you want to say something, just let us know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's fine. We can talk about them in the breaks. So
yeah,
I don't ruin the flow.
Yep. All right. Everything's set up. Everything's good.
Most cities are built on stone. Was built on ships, or more specifically, their cargo. Slaves who rose up against their Valyrian captors and seized the helms of the convoy. Of all crimes, Valyria punished rebellion most severely. The slaves faced not execution, but the Valyrian mines or labor camps in the most remote and savage colonies, if recaptured. And few corners of the world can long remain hidden from Dragonback. However, our histories claim that a group of slave women prophesied the slaves would find shelter in a distant lagoon behind a wall of pine-clad hills and seas, where the frequent fogs would help hide the refugees from the eyes of dragon riders passing overhead. And so it proved. Because they had risked their lives in the name of freedom, the mothers and fathers of the new city vowed that no man, woman, or child in Braavos should ever be a slave. This is the first law of Braavos, engraved in stone on the arch that spans the long canal. For over 100 years, Braavos hid itself from the eyes of the world, who called it the Secret City. Using a dye derived from a local snail, our captains stained their sails purple to hide their stolen Valyrian ships. Our merchants carried false charts and lied when questioned about their home port. Eventually, one Sea Lord, our elected ruler, decided enough time had passed and initiated the unmasking of Braavos to the world and to Valyria.
Of course, it helped that the Iron Bank made handsome restitution to the Dragon Lords for the stolen ships, whilst of course refusing to pay for the value of the slaves themselves. The anniversary of the unmasking is celebrated every year in Braavos with 10 days of feasting and masked revel, a festival like none other in the known world, culminating at midnight on the 10th day, when the Titan roars and tens of thousands of us remove their masks as one. Freed of the constraints of secrecy, Braavos quickly grew into the wealthiest and most powerful of the free cities, and, one could argue, the most beautiful. From the sprawling Sea Lord's palace with its menagerie of strange beasts and birds, to the imposing Palace of Justice and the aqueduct we call the Sweetwater River that bears fresh water from the mainland, Braavos is without rival in either engineering or elegance. The temples of Braavos are also famed throughout the world and wonder from 100 different peoples. The Braavosi honor 100 different gods. The Temple of the Moon Singers is the foremost of these, being the faith of the slave women whose prophecies led our ancestors here. The Lord of Light has a great temple as well, where his worshippers have grown ever more numerous in the past 100 years. Yet less numerous, and even some forgotten faiths still have temples deep in the heart of the city, on the Isle of the Gods. But the beauty of Braavos is not only in her buildings. Braavoship is renowned throughout the world. Eschew the armor and long swords of the Westerosi knights, preferring speed, agility, and slender blades. The greatest call themselves water dancers, after the custom of dueling upon the moon pool near the Sea Lord's palace. By tradition, the greatest of all the Braavos is the First Sword, who commands the personal guard of the Sea Lord and protects his person at all public events. Once chosen, Sea Lords serve for life. Inevitably, there are always those who wish to cut that life short to effect some change in policy. Though not even the First Swords are the true guardians of Braavos. That honor goes to the Titan, who protects the entrance to the harbor. With his proud head and fiery eyes looming close to 400 feet above the sea, the Titan is a fortress of a kind never seen before or since. His eyes are huge beacon fires, lighting the way for returning ships into the lagoon. Within his bronze body are halls and chambers, murder holes and arrow slits. Enemy ships can be steered onto the rocks by the watchmen inside the Titan, and stones and pots of burning pitch can be dropped onto the decks of any that attempt to pass between the Titan's legs without leave. This has seldom been necessary, however. Not since the Century of Blood has any enemy been so rash as to attempt to provoke the Titan's wrath. Should an enemy break through into the lagoon, however, he would face the walls of brass. Again, not of stone like other cities, but of ships. The arsenal of Braavos can build one of our famous purple-hulled war galleys in a single day. All the vessels are constructed following the same design, so that all the many parts can be prepared in advance, and skilled ship work upon different sections of the vessel simultaneously to hasten the labor. To organize such a feat of engineering is unprecedented. One need only look at the raucous, confused construction in the shipyards around the world to see the truth of this. Let us imagine that even the arsenal, great as it is, failed us. An enemy who could defeat both the Titan and our fleet would be strong indeed. But Braavos does not depend only on statues and ships. We also have iron and gold.
All right. I think that's a good description of and the business of they can build one ship per day. I did not notice that city was that big. Or maybe it's just they have really good engineers.
It's like a sort of Amsterdam or Venice.
I'm not familiar with what that is.
Notoriously cities built upon the water, where the streets are waterways.
Okay, yeah.
Love it the same.
Okay. Yeah, I did not notice either that it was like islands that were semi-attached through bridges and just waterways that they can traverse. The Faceless Men.
Men. It depends on who is asking. To a penitent, they may be relief. To a victim, they may be vengeance. To a lord, they may be an incredible expense. And to the Iron Bank, they may be just another asset. Nobody but the Faceless Men know their origin, though the order is rumored to predate the founding of Braavos. We know only that they reside in, or are somehow aligned with, the House of Black and White, that odd and lonely building where few who enter ever leave.
Some whisper that those werewood doors open not on a house, but onto the world of the dead, from whence the faceless men rise when summoned. We can dismiss such foolishness as we do the fishwives who spread it. The House of Black and White is merely a temple created to the many-faced god, and filled with of his many faces. The old gods of Westeros, the Lord of Light, the Black Goat, the Lion of Night, the Weeping Lady, the Stranger. Perhaps now you understand what is worshipped here, and along with them, other gods whom none alive now recognize, brought here long ago by sailors who never came again. Unlike the priests of other religions, the servants here preach no sermons and perform no ceremonies. As far as one can see, silence and solitude form the whole of their worship, as well as collecting the occasional devotee. If one wants to engage a faceless man, one visits the House of Black and White and pays the price for what that may be. Those who have paid it rarely speak of it, for make no mistake, from the moment the faceless man accepts your offer, the man you named is dead, though he doesn't know. Perhaps not that day, perhaps not that year, but soon and inevitably. Many would say you are as much his mirror as if you'd swung the axe yourself, just as many would say that's the point.
Volantis.
Valyria was young, and as the young do, it sought to spread its seed. Its first daughter was Volantis, an outpost on the mighty Roine River at the frontier of the Empire. There, the Dragon Lords raised the famous Black Walls, fused to 200 feet tall, and so thick that 6 four-horse chariots can race along the battlements side by side, as they do each year to celebrate the founding of the city. To this day, only those who can trace their ancestry back to old Valyria are allowed to dwell within the Black Walls. None are even permitted to set foot inside without an express invitation of a scion of the old blood, meaning, of course, the ancient and noble blood of foot soldiers. For the city's first 100 years, its only inhabitants were its garrison. But where soldiers go, vice follows. Taverns and brothels began to sprout up outside the Black Walls, and merchant ships began to call as well, bearing the trade of the summer sea, slaves. The East Bank filled with homes, shops, and society, and so the taverns and brothels moved to the West Bank, where foreigners, sellswords, and pirates erected their own shadow city of fornication, drunkenness, and in time, the West Bank became such a cesspit of crime and depravity that the Volantines had no choice but to send their slave soldiers across the Roine to restore some semblance of decency. Like all such missions, they succeeded, they left, then they failed. When the Volantines grew weary of shipping their soldiers across the Roine every year, they built the famous Long Bridge of Volantis, strong enough to support the weight of 1,000 elephants and many more soldiers. The Long Bridge of Volantis stands today as the longest bridge in all the known world. The Volantine rulers intended the bridge to spread the civilization of the East Bank to the west. Instead, the depravity of the West Bank spread east. Shops, temples, taverns, inns, and brothels line the bridge, most 3 or 4 stories tall, with each floor overhanging the one beneath it. One can buy anything on the lot, or steal it, if one's hands are quick enough. But if they're not, though at least half the decor committed no greater crime than displeasing a master. For in Volantis there are 5 slaves for every free man, a proportion matched only by the cities of Slavers Bay. The Volantine masters mark their property with facial tattoos, permanent and scarring, which denote the vocation of the slave soldiers wear green tiger stripes upon their faces. Slave whores are marked by tears beneath one eye. The slaves that collect the dung of horses and elephants are marked with flies. The drivers of the hathays, the carts pulled by the small elephants of Volantis, are marked with wheels, and so on. A master may give his slave freedom, but no man can give a new face. Is it any wonder, then, that the slaves and freed men have turned in such great numbers to the priests who preach of a cleansing fire? The Temple of the Lord of Light in Volantis is said to be the greatest in all the world, larger even than the great sept of Baelor. All who serve within this mighty temple are slaves, bought as children and trained to become priests, temple prostitutes, or warriors. And one could argue its adherents outside the temple are slaves as well, in mind if not in body. Magic frees nobody, except its practitioner, to do what he will with those who can't. Just as the black walls free the old blood to see what they will. Without those, they don't. But one must wonder how much longer such freedoms will endure. When across Essos, one hears the sound of chains breaking, of slaves rising, of dragons roaring. Volantis may call itself the first daughter of Valyria, but it is not the last.
Wow. And that's where Tyrion goes, is it not?
He was in Volantis. That's where he was kidnapped by Jorah.
Yeah, because I remember the bridge. They were on the bridge in that area. Goes across.
That's exactly where he gets abducted. And then he goes to Meereen.
Yeah.
Which is one of the slavers, the slaver cities of the Bay.
Yeah.
So
is it the one that's deepest into the Bay?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you pull the map, you'll see that Karth is like on the far east end. And then they went into the bay and started with, like, the first city was Astapor, the other one further inside the bay was Yunkai, and the deepest in the bay is Meereen.
Yeah, I have a photographic memory for maps. One of my superpowers. It's pretty insane. We're going to the fighting pits of Meereen. Naharis is the narrator.
People love blood when it's not their own. But tavern brawls are boring, and wars never have good seating. The fighting pits of Meereen opened shortly after the city's own founding. I heard that originally the combats were a blood sacrifice to the gods of Geese, the empire that founded Meereen. Some still believe they are. But the Giscari Empire died a long time ago and their gods went with them. Yet the pits remained open, filling the city's purse with gold from the ends of the earth. I suppose the fighting pits are a blood sacrifice after all. Only the gods changed. In the pits, slaves fought each other to the death for fame and glory, and gold for their masters. A lot of gold. Enough for the masters to invest in rigorous training. Slaves were taught to fight like Dothraki screamers, bearded priests of Norvos, iron-born reavers, Westerosi knights, Cohoric hunters, and Lysine pirates. Whatever would excite a crowd. After all, everyone wants to know who is the best. And, of course, who isn't? For the crowds don't come only to see men fight. I've seen the masters release tigers, lions, and other exotic beasts into the arena to chase less costly slaves, barely trained, if at all. A whore once told me of an amusement in one of the less prestigious pits. One boy was rolled in honey, one in blood, and one in rotting fish. And then a bear was on which boy the bear would eat first. I never heard one. Then again, it was obvious. The masters. Did such stories worry me? Of course not. I could fight. And for a good fighter, life was luxurious. Thousands of people chanted his name when he stepped into the pits. He would eat the choicest meats, drink the finest wines, and sleep on exotic furs. Often not alone. Women would fling themselves at him or sneak into his chambers to wait for him after a fight. Foreign princesses, and even the wives and wayward daughters of masters. He never had to fear punishment, for a great fighter could be worth 300,000 honors. Another wife was always cheaper. And when this renowned fighter finally fell, for all fighters will in time, his name would be inscribed onto the gates of fate among the other valiant dead. I remember once trying to count the names, but the gates opened before I finished, and another fight began.
It's crazy how much lore you can get into such singular locations. But yeah, I really appreciate it for that.
A young man walks beside a girl across a flowered field. Spring has come, and this girl is his life. He prays. A child climbs a tree to watch the sunset over the fields. Summer is ending, and the harvest is life for his village. He prays. A hunter tracks a boar through the woods. Winter is coming, and this boar is life for his family. He prays. But to whom do they pray? The world has as many answers as there are men to answer. But walk far enough, climb high enough, hunt long enough, and a man shall find only one God, with many faces. In the faith of the Seven, he is the stranger who guides men from this life to the next. Few seek his favor, or at least, few risk that they do. In the north of Westeros, he is one of the nameless old gods, staring out from the weirwood trees and the snow. In the Iron Islands, he is the drowned god. calling men down to his watery hall. What is dead may never die, but rises again, harder and stronger. In the far east, he is the Lion of Night, who fathered the world's first emperor on the Maiden Maid of Light, and whose wrath nearly ended the world. In Volantis, he is the Lord of Light, whose followers feed men to the flames to beg his favor. In Lys, he is the Weeping Lady, who sheds her tears for the living, soon to die. In Qohor is the Black Goat, and he feeds on blood offerings every day. On holy days, he is offered condemned criminals, and in times of great crisis, he may even be offered the noblest children of the city to beg his protection. Does he accept their gift? Well, the city stands. For the poor, he is the hooded wayfarer. For soldiers, he is Bacalon, the pale child. For sailors, he is the moon pale maiden and the Merling King. In the house of black and white, however, he is all of them, and none of them. He is the many-faced god, and wherever a man turns, there he is. Men come from every corner of the world to know him, to beg his favor and seek his gift. For themselves, if their life has grown too hard, or for others who are making it so. It is all the same to the many-faced god. Vala Dohairis, all men must serve him. Beggars and kings. Vala Morgulis, all men must die. Good and evil. Men worship as they will.
Oh my god.
But at the end of every road stands the many-faced god, waiting.
That was the best one.
Yeah, so that was a very good explanation, I think. Even better than mine, I suppose.
It's just interesting. There's so much lore everywhere, and obviously it's probably just proximity to Westeros. Like Braavos, the House of Black and White is close enough to Westeros so that we can experience that. But I'm sure there are a lot of other like further away places that like the show just does not touch on whatsoever because it's just too much. And the show does do a manageable job with lore, but like still there's so much that people, if someone just watched the show and just left, they have no clue. Then again, there's a lot of people who are
Westeros has mighty rivers, but none of them compare to the Rhoyne. It is said that there is no stream or puddle in Western Essos but drains to Mother Rhoyne. No doubt an exaggeration. Until one sees the river, at its widest, a man in the center can't see a shore to either side.
Wow.
The greatest of Mother Rhoyne's children were the Rhoyne, a civilization as ancient and grand as old Guy. Fishers, traders, scholars, workers of wood, stone and metal. The Rhoyne raised their elegant cities from the headwaters of the Rhoyne down to her mouth, each lovelier than the last. For many centuries, the Rhoyne lived in relative peace. When invaders swept down from the hills, the Rhoyne, women and men, would don silver-scaled armor, fish-head helmets, tall spears, and turtle-shell shields. If the enemy did not laugh themselves away, it was said that Mother Rhoyne would whisper the enemy's secrets to her children, and the Rhoynish wizards could raise watery walls to drown their foes. Whatever magic the Rhoyne may have had, it wasn't enough. When Valyrian colonists first arrived, the Rhoyne embraced them, for all men were welcome to share the bounty of Mother Rhoyne. Perhaps a water people should have been more cautious of strangers who exalted fire and blood. Legend has it that one day the Valyrians netted and butchered one of the giant turtles the Rhoyne held sacred. As a result, thousands were killed or enslaved, cities and towns were burned, drowned, and rebuilt. In these wars, the Valyrians emerged as victorious more often than not. The princes of the Rhoynish cities, fiercely proud of their independence, fought alone, whilst the Valyrian colonies aided one another. Eventually, the Rhoynish princes ceased their squabbling and united behind Prince Gareth, who led the largest army Essos had ever seen, against 100,000 Valyrian colonists, 100 war elephants, and 3 dragon lords. Thousands burned, but thousands more sheltered in the shallows of the river, whilst the Rhoynish wizards raised enormous water spouts against the foe's dragons. Archers brought down 2 of the dragons, whilst the 3rd fled, wounded. And thereafter, the Rhoyne named Gareth the Great. Mother Valyria proved just as caring as Mother Rhoyne. When Garin the Great marched his army against Volantis, 300 Valyrian dragons descended from the sky. Tens of thousands burned whilst others rushed into the river, but the fires burned so hot that the water boiled and turned to steam. Garren the Great was captured alive and made to watch as Valyrians butchered every last man. So many that their blood turned the great harbor of Volantis red as far as the eye could see. Then they forced Garren to watch as they marched on his own city and enslaved all the women and children his army had left behind. The singers claim that Prince Garren called out Mother Royne to curse the Valyrians, and she in turn flooded the city with foul waters and a damp fog that caused the skin of the Valyrians to harden and crack, and thus was born Grail.
Oh, shoot!
Fearing a similar fate, another Roynish ruler, Princess Nymeria, led her own people into every ship, skiff, and raft they had, and fled. Eventually, after much hardship, they landed in sun-swept and bone-dry Dorne. But we all know that tale. Now Valyria has followed the Royner out of this world, and her daughters have grown into free cities, wealthy and powerful and proud. Still, Mother Royne flows on, past ancient ruins and bustling hubs, sweeping all man's kingdoms to the sea.
That was a good one, wasn't it?
Oh my god.
Did you notice the name of the princess, Nymeria?
Yeah.
Who else do we know that's called Nymeria?
Is Direwolf.
Yep.
So now you have the entire picture of how the Stark children named their wolves.
Yeah.
My goodness.
I don't think so far I haven't noticed. For Arya to know that, I would suspect that she would be at least like, maybe she learned it from a lesson or something.
Yeah, she did. Absolutely.
Yeah. Where in my mind, it was like she was looking for the information, but she was probably just told the information and enjoyed it. So she named her daughter.
Well, we do know she was very well instructed from her time with Tywin when she was talking about Aegon and his sister wives and the names of the 3 dragons and the name of the sword, Dark Sister, and so on and so forth. And so she was passionate about history and especially women warriors.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's served by the fact that Tywin is there.
Yeah. All right. Greyscale, and we learned that Greyscale came from
Waters.
Yeah, after the butchering of all of the people.
Roynar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy. Probably.
Few afflictions are more feared than Greyscale, and far past the point of reason. A legend calls it Prince's Curse, after an ancient eastern prince whom the Valyrians hung in a cage and forced to watch the immolation of his city and people. As his city burned under dragon flame, this prince called on his god for vengeance, and a thick fog of foul humours rose from the Royne to smother the Valyrians with Greyscale. But if diseases could be called down by the vengeful, we'd have no health in the world. More likely the disease predates the Valyrians entirely, confined to some remote region of Essos, and only spread throughout the world once the Valyrians linked the continent with roads and dragon. The disease begins as a rash. The afflicted flesh stiffens, calcifies, and cracks, and assumes the disease's nominal hue. Victims are graciously spared pain, as the disease dulls sensation in the infected limbs. But the disease is insidious, and slowly it creeps over the skin and into the organs. Once the infection reaches the brain, feral madness replaces humanity, and the transformation to a stone man is complete.
Like those guys
There
who
is no
touched...
consensus on treatment. Some maesters advocate mustard poultices, vinegar rinses, and scalding hot baths. Others claim only 3 cures: axe, sword, and cleaver. Hacking off afflicted parts does sometimes stop the spread of the disease, but not always. Many a man has sacrificed an arm or foot only to find the other going grey. Those who have been miraculously cured of Greyscale are few, and usually were subjected to so many treatments that isolating the responsible cure is impossible. Besides, few maesters, priests, or healers have the courage for such experiments as would prove a cure. Greyscale is highly contagious, being known to spread from even the slightest contact with an infected person. Hence the current occupation of Valyria by the exiled from their homelands at the first sign of the disease. What they do there, with their final months or even years, for Greyscale is a slow killer no one knows. No one wants to find out.
No.
Great masters of Meereen.
The great masters of Meereen, as if calling themselves such could make them so. Thousands of years ago, during the height of the Giscari Empire, Meereen was second only to Old Geese in wealth and glory. A paradise by the sea, if one didn't mind the constant king of chains and cracking whips. Slaves built Meereen, and on their backs the city rested like a litter. Then came the dragons of Valyria. The masters of Old Geese would not bow, so they burned. The Valyrians tore down their walls, burned their pyramids to ash, and sowed their fields with salt and scum. An old slave woman once told me that the Valyrians intended to break the chains of the Giscari slaves, absorbing them into the Valyrian freehold where every man held a vote. But the great masters of Meereen received their new overlords in the great temple, plying them with gold, wine, and all the wealth that slavery had brought them. And the Valyrians instead took up the whip themselves. I do not believe it. As their empire expanded, the Valyrians needed more and more bodies to feed their mines and colonies, when no wage could ever tempt a free man. The great masters merely accommodated their new customers, staying rich as the Giscari Empire crumbled. After the doom fell on Valyria, the great masters worried for their fortunes. By this time, the Valyrians were their greatest providers and purchasers of slaves. Then the Dothraki horse lords swept out of the plains of Essos and proved to be as fond of slaving as the dragon lords before them. The great masters grew richer still. For the first time in its history, the great masters alone ruled Meereen, and chaos ruled the rest of the world. The fighting pit swallowed men who in previous centuries would have filled the ranks of the Valyrian armies. Without these soldiers to maintain order, the wealthy had to buy their own, which the good masters of Astapor were more than willing to sell. If the buyer's nerves still needed calming, the wise masters of Yunkai could sell him further release. The great masters, the good masters, the wise masters, yet none was so great, good, or wise that they recognized our queen for what she was. Ancestors had destroyed them, then become them. Perhaps they assumed she would bend as easily, but our queen does not bend, she breaks.
Lord Commanders. Oh, that's going to be good. Okay. Wait, do you have anything to say? What are you thinking lately?
I'm just listening and reading and not reading the titles there. I'm learning new things.
Me too.
Each brother of the Night's Watch swears a sacred oath to protect the realms of men. That doesn't mean pissing about, waiting for the cold to finally put an end to you. It means bleeding. It means fighting. It means going beyond the wall and hunting down those who mean harm to the realm. So how do you get 1,000 rapists and thieves to fight together, to bleed together? That's the burden of the Lord Commander. He keeps the builders building, the rangers ranging, and the steward, or else it all falls apart. Each Lord Commander is chosen from and by his fellow brothers, and he serves for life. A long time ago, you may have had men from Queensgate and Long Barrow and the other 16 castles of the Wall come to Castle Black for an election. These days, you'd be lucky to scrape a few dozen from Eastwatch and the Shadow Tower, or however many they can spare who cast votes in their stead. The same, the brothers are allowed to name whomever they think worthy of the title. Then we vote until one man receives a majority, however long it takes. Some elections have lasted less than an hour, some have lasted weeks.
Wow.
One even lasted 2 years.
Oh my Jesus.
Maester Aemon has said there have been 997 Lord Commanders since the Night's Watch was founded. Back then we had true soldiers, men of honor and strength. Now look who mans the wall. Bast peasants who stole a sheep to bump fat little nobles who weren't worthy of their Lord Father's land. But the Lord Commander must find a place for them all, and turn these walking piles of horse dung into soldiers of the Night's Watch. Though we haven't such men to lead us, we've had cowards and fools as well. Our tyrants had tried to bequeath the watch to his bastard. Roderick Flint thought to make himself king beyond the wall. Tristan Rankenfell, Robin Hill, each nearly destroyed us with their foolishness. 600 years ago, the commanders at Snowgate and the Nightfort even went to war against each other. The simpering Lord Commander asked them politely to lay aside their quarrel, and incredibly they did, because they joined forces to murder him. The Stark in Winterfell had to intervene and take both their heads to save the Night's Watch. Now we've got more mouths than we can feed. A southern king in our castle, and cells full of wildling. and no Lord Commander, since the last was betrayed by his own men. We need a new leader, a man respected enough to hold the Watch together in this dark hour. A leader strong enough to make sure that the Night's Watch survives the coming winter, no matter the cost.
Oh boy.
I don't think he's gonna survive. Like, the rest of the Night's Watch are gonna end him, and I maybe they'll just fold into line, but I just don't see them. I don't see them following him, seeing how they voted and then
Brandon the Builder,
killed him. Right
founder of House Stark, raised Winterfell with giants over 8,000 years ago. Or so nursemaids tell all the children of the North. The children nod, wide-eyed, unaware of the lesson forced on them, that if even giants obeyed a Stark, should they? But like every other castle, Winterfell was built in pieces over thousands of years. The first men settled there because of the hot springs that bubbled through the ground. The water and the heat helped them survive the northern winters, and they built defenses to keep it for themselves. Nobody raised the castle all at once. Probably nobody meant to raise a castle at all. In those days, the Starks were not the greatest house in the north, and Winterfell was not the greatest castle. Barristan was the oldest, dating to the first king, and the Starks fought the Barrow kings for 1,000 years. Greywater Watch was, like the Crannog men themselves, the strangest. Only marriage subdued its marsh kings. But the greatest rival to Winterfell was always the Dreadfort, and my ancestors, the Red Kings of House Bolton. If tales can be believed, we fought from the long night until the Andals came. Because of us, Winterfell raised its first walls. When we took and burnt the castle anyway, Winterfell built more keeps, more walls, more guard towers. They expanded the granaries and larders to survive our sieges. They tended the godswood to win favor with the old gods against us. As the castle grew, more farmers and villagers flocked every winter from across the north to huddle under its walls, raising the winter town. In the spring, these villagers would find themselves marching in the Stark armies to fight against us. The greatness of Winterfell is as much our doing as the Starks. But in the end, neither its stone walls nor its tall keeps and iron gates could save Winter. At its height, it could have lasted a year under heavy siege, but a handful of Ironborn seized it in the night, while its lord, the king in the north, was playing in the south. My dagger ended his reign, and now House Bolton holds the castle of our ancient enemies. The direwolf no longer flies from the battlements above me, nor guards the doors and cornices of Winterfell against me. Below me, miles of long-dead Starks fade into darkness and obscurity, until even their faces are lost. Some Northerners whisper that they wait for the day their house will rise again. They will wait forever.
I don't know about that.
We'll see.
Robert's Rebellion.
Barristan the Bold, they call me to my face. I know what they say behind my back. Barristan the Old. And it's true. I am old, with hair as white as all the winters I've seen. The older a man grows, the less sleep he needs. These days, I barely sleep at all. When darkness falls over this strange city, I find myself visited by the faces of the kings I have served, the faces of those I swore to protect, the faces of those I fail. All I ever wanted was to live a life of honor, defending a king worthy of service. During the War of the Ninepenny Kings, I sought out Malus the Monstrous, last of the Blackfire pretenders who had started this whole war. Malus believed that his own blood gave him a claim to the Iron Throne. I made sure his blood claimed nothing more than the dirt around his corpse. To show his gratitude, the king elevated me to his king's guard. It was the proudest moment of my life. But that king died, and I wasn't with him. Not that I could have saved him if I had been, but still, I vowed to do better with his son, the young Prince Aerys. For 20 years, his reign was peaceful and prosperous. Aerys was well loved by his subjects and respected by his lords. But as years went on, Aerys' temper soured. He became obsessed with dragons and fire, and the swords of the king's guard couldn't defend him from the enemies he saw lurking in every shadow. My king went mad. But there was hope. His son and heir, Prince Rhaegar, was everything a kingdom could hope for in a ruler. He was strong but gentle, wise and cautious, and a good friend. No matter the wounds Aerys dug into the realm, we had faith that his son would sew it back together again when he ascended the throne. Then came Lord tourney at the largest ever in Westeros. I unhorsed every man against me until only Prince remained. We each set our feet in our saddles and lowered our lance and charged, and I fell. Muddy and bruised, I then watched Rhaegar present Lyanna Stark with the victor's crown of roses, though she was betrothed to Robert Baratheon, and Rhaegar himself was married to Ed Martell. We all know what happened after. If I'd been a bit quicker with my lance, if I'd chosen a faster horse, perhaps I could have spared the kingdom from the destruction that came after. Or if I'd thought to warn Brandon Stark against his rashness. He came to King's Landing himself, demanding Rhaegar return his sister. Poor fool. If he'd only known the depth of Aerys' madness, he wouldn't have dared provoke him. Aerys ordered Brandon imprisoned, and I could do nothing but obey. When Brandon's father, Lord Rickard Stark, came to King's Landing to beg for his son, Aerys burned him alive, and I could do nothing but watch. I had sworn a vow to a mad king, and was honor-bound to obey him, even at the cost of my soul. Ravens soon arrived with dark news for the king. The Vale was in open revolt. Demanding Lyanna Stark's return, Robert Baratheon was smashing any army that dared face him. Eddard Stark, Brandon's younger brother, was marching the whole of the north down the neck and had taken Catelyn Tully, Brandon's betrothed, for his own, thus winning the support of the Riverlands. The king sent ravens to Casterly Rock to beg his former hand, Tywin Lannister, for help, and no ravens returned. A plan was devised. Prince Rhaegar would personally lead the royal forces, now reinforced with 10,000 Dornishmen, north to face Robert. Of the King's Guard, Lewin Martell and I would ride with the prince. Before we left, the prince confided in me that when he returned from this battle, there would be a great many changes in court. Despite my vows to the king, I confess I was excited. On the march to face Robert's army, we were sure we'd win. We had superior numbers, and we had Prince Rhaegar. His presence lifted the spirits of our men, and he looked every inch the king he was destined to become. But at the Trident, the gods played a cruel joke. Robert proved the Baratheon words as his army smashed through our lines. Lewin Martell was killed. I fell in combat, badly wounded, and could do nothing but watch as Robert's war ended Rhaegar's glorious reign before it began, and the kingdom that would never be washed away down the Trident with his life's blood. But Robert spared me, insisting his personal maester tend to my wound, out of respect. But respect for what? A king's guard shouldn't survive one king, let alone two, and one who should have been. I swore an oath to House Targaryen, and I failed them. All that's left of their fire I dark. If the gods were good, I would still be young in the fullness of strength. But whatever the cost, I will not let this ember go out. This time, I will not.
I mean, it wasn't his fault, right? It wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that is his job, and so he takes it very seriously, but that's something that I never hear. Who injured Barristan Selmy? Who wounded him?
It was a very big battle of Trident.
Yeah.
So he was Rhaegar's King's Guard, and he was there. So imagine how many were trying to kill Rhaegar. Of course, his King's Guard would have a lot of people, coming at them. So.
Yeah. So it's not really said who was able to.
No.
It could have been a lucky strike where it was just opportunity was there. It wasn't like a single combat thing. It was more of like opportunity to strike at Barristan Selmy, and someone took it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Dorne. Here we go.
Before the Seven Kingdoms, before the Iron Throne, there was Dorne. 12,000 years ago, the first men crossed the land bridge from Essos to here. Of course, they were men, so they soon broke it. Then, while their cousins to the north built kingdoms, the Dornish squabbled over land, water, and wives for centuries, until Nymeria, a warrior princess in Essos. She led a fleet of 10,000 ships across the narrow sea to Dorne. Almost all of the petty lords made it wasn't welcome. All but one, Mors of House Martell. He saw in her a strength to match any man, including his rivals. After she accepted his marriage offer, she set fire to her ships. For 50 leagues, the coast was bright as day, and in the burning light, Princess Nymeria named Mors the Prince of Dorne, in the style of her people. Dorne would be her home, or her grave. For many years, Nymeria and Mors waged war against all rivals, the Jordanes, Blackmonts, Corgyles, and even the mighty House. They sent no fewer than 6 self-styled kings to the wall in golden chains. After Mors fell in battle, Nymeria took command of his armies and united Dorne in 2 years. She ruled for 27 more, and though she married again, those husbands were little more than counselors and consorts. Was Nymeria, and Nymeria was Dorne. She survived a dozen attempts on her life, put down 2 rebellions, and threw back 2 invasions. And when at last she died, her eldest child succeeded her daughter, not her son. And Dorne followed her because Nymeria had proven that women were equal to men, if not better. Centuries later, Targaryens sought to unite Westeros as Nymeria had Dorne. The other 6 kingdoms fell quickly before his dragons and ambition. When his sister wife, Rhaenys, flew her dragon south and demanded our surrender as well, Princess Mel warned, "I will not fight you, nor will I kneel to you. Dorne has no king. Tell your brother that." Rhaenys threatened that the next time the Targaryens would come with fire and blood. Meria replied, "You may burn us, my lady, but you will not bend us, break us, or make us bow. This is Dorne. You are not wanted here. Return at your peril." He's dead. And she died. Her dragon died. All her soldiers died. Eventually, her brother, the Conqueror, conceded that what Nymeria had done, he could not undo. Generations later, another foolish Targaryen invaded Dorne. He died as well. Eventually, we did join the 7 kingdoms, but when we wanted, and on our terms. If dragons could not conquer us, why should we fear lions? Unbowed, unbent. The words of House Martell, the words of Dorne. Men may forget, but women always remember. When we were divided, Meria united us. When we were invaded, Meria defended us. Now Dorne has been humiliated, its prince murdered. Who will rise to avenge us?
And they have, with the retaliatory
Myrcella Baratheon.
Yeah.
You have to realize that these guys are the only ones who are not conquered by Aegon the Conqueror. Even dragons didn't work.
Yeah.
It did nothing.
Is this the only instance of Targaryens or failing to conquer someone?
Yeah. And in this segment, she doesn't say what the on our terms was, but it was marriage.
Yeah.
It was essentially a marriage pact that brought Dorne to the fold. So they had
it wasn't
queen.
It wasn't Elia's marriage, was it?
No.
It was early.
No, it was much earlier.
Okay.
But you have to consider that in light of that, what the value of the marriage between Elia and Rhaegar was.
Yeah. It was
Because
like
it wasn't any late.
It was like
It was
reforming that thing.
Exactly, yes. And it's a princess. It's not a lady of any house.
Yeah.
It's much more on the same kind of level footing.
It's crazy. High Sparrow and the Dance of Dragons. Those are the longest ones.
The Father reached his hand into the heavens and pulled down 7 stars, and one by one he set them on the brow of Hugo of the Hill to make a glowing crown. The maid brought him forth a girl as supple as willow, with eyes like deep pool, and Hugo declared that he would have her for his bride. So the mother made her fertile, and the crone foretold that she would bear the king 44 mighty sons. The warrior gave strength to their arms,
that's what.
whilst the smith wrought for each a suit of iron plates. But sadly, the gods no longer walk the earth among us, and you can see what a mess we've made of their creation since. Yet we have hope. The gods didn't abandon us in silence, but gave us their holy words to guide us, collected in the oldest and holiest text of the faith, the 7-pointed star. Divided into 7 books for the 7 aspects of God, in it we learn of the Father's justice, the Mother's mercy, the Maiden's innocence, the Crone's wisdom, the Warrior's strength, the smith's labor, and the stranger's peace. It is a long book. Many never read it in its entirety, even if they could. When the Andals first sailed for West filled with divine fire, every warrior carved a 7-pointed star into his body. For even that was easier than carving its namesake into his mind. Though one could perhaps argue that it wasn't the warriors, but the Septons armed with the holy text of the 7-pointed star who truly conquered Westeros. The first men had no letters, but the runes they would scratch onto rocks. No gods, but the faces they would carve into trees. But then came our holy men and women among them, bearing the very words of the gods under their arms. Trees and rocks were no match for the 7-pointed star, and most of us soon turned to the faith and to its guardians, their new Andal overlords. Whilst the Andals soon fractured into warring kingdoms, the faith remained whole and indivisible, bound together by the 7-pointed star. When those kingdoms fell to Aegon and his dragons thousands of years later, the faith remained subject only to the 7 above and the 7-pointed star below. Or so it was supposed to be. Too often, our High Septons have lost their way, clouded by worldly wealth and power. No matter, we still have the 7-pointed star. Men's will and virtue may fail, but the words never do. As men bow to their lords, and lords to their kings, so kings and queens must bow before the 7 who are one. The knees of the powerful work the same as the knees of the weak, and were given to all for the same purpose, to bend before the gods, or break in the bending.
In the cells, just like Cersei did.
Faith Militant.
Today, men know the 7 as statues in the septs, but in the old days, the gods themselves walked among men. They crowned Hugo of the Hill, the first king of the Andal people, and promised him that his descendants would rule great kingdoms in a foreign continent. When the time came, the Andals carved the 7-pointed star upon their bodies and set sail for the strange land across the narrow sea, Westeros. Whilst Andal warriors battled the first men for kingdoms, Andal Septons battled for souls and were received just as courteously. We don't know how many bold and pious men lost their lives, but adversity bred strength. Our purest and most righteous believers took up the sword to defend and preserve the faith from its enemies. So was born the Order of the Faith Militant. When Aegon the Conqueror landed in Westeros, the Heist locked himself in a sept for 7 days and 7 nights. Finally, the crone lifted her golden lamp and showed him the path ahead. The Heist himself would uncrown Aegon as Lord of the 7 Kingdoms, and the Faith Militant rallied behind Aegon in governing his newly united land. Yet Aegon and his sisters never wholly accepted the faith. The High Septon had conceded Aegon's marriages to his sisters as a relic of his Valyrian heritage, which would soon fade. But when Aegon's heir wed his daughter to his son, the faith could brook such abomination no longer. The High Septon led the denunciation of the Targaryens, and all of us, the Faith Militant, took up their swords against the dynasty and its supporters. The Faith Militant set upon and punished the Septon who had performed the ceremony. A few of the Faith Militant's members even scaled the walls of the castle and would have slain the king and his family had a knight of the king's guard not intervened. Frightened, the king fled to Dragonstone, where he soon died of cramps. And so ascended the king's younger brother, Maegor the Cruel. His first act was to challenge the Faith Militant to kill him if they believed his rule to be ungodly. To the Order's eternal credit, they accepted. Ser Daemon Morrigan proposed a trial by 7, Ser Daemon and 6 of the Faith Militant, against the king and his 6 champions. It was a contest in which the kingdom itself was at stake, and the accounts and tales are many. But at the end of it, Maegor alone lived, proving that the throne was rightfully his. He mounted the Black Dragon, Valyria, and burnt down the Sept in King's Landing, while the Faith Militant were inside at morning prayers. The screams of the burning and dying men were said to echo throughout the city. Though Maegor had won the trial by 7, He demanded the complete destruction of the Faith Militant and the Faith itself, if necessary. He made war upon the Order wherever he found it. Yet the Faith Militant would not surrender, raising armies of their own and turning Maegor's own lords against him. The Father's justice may not always be swift, but it is certain. One morning, Maegor was found dead on the Iron Throne. No one knows how. His cruelty died with him. His successor saw the wisdom of a united crown and faith, and his hand reached an accord with the High Septon. As long as the Iron Throne defended, the faith would put aside its own swords and its condemnation of the Targaryens. Perhaps the High Septon felt he had no course but compromise. Outlawed and hunted for years, the Faith Militant was but a shadow of its former self. Without its own guardians,
like the box that
the faith would have to rely on corrupt, worldly kings and their corrupt, worldly courts. For thousands of years, the Faith Militant had stood watch over the faith, and then its sun set. Now, after years of war and destruction, of abomination and blasphemy, none can argue that we have been walking through darkness. Perhaps the time has come when the sun must rise again.
Okay, that explains so much.
Finally.
Yeah.
We're finally.
Oh my god. Without that context, it literally felt like that came out of nowhere.
I know, the show does a very bad job of that, sadly.
I was like, oh my god, these like faith, just like random group just appeared out of nowhere? No, they've been there the whole time.
Yeah, that's all I was like, where are these guys coming from? Out the blue? Nope.
And this does give a perfect example of why they've been gone and why they come back and what their purpose is and why they're fighting.
I mean, they took advantage of the power vacuum after Tywin's death.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah. They wouldn't have even thought of doing anything while Tywin was alive.
And, like, obviously, like, people like Tywin know that there's this group there, but, like, really, do they take them seriously at this point, too? They know of them, but...
Right, but you have to think about something extremely important. They were not armed.
Yeah.
That was the thing. They didn't have weapons, because that was the thing. That was the agreement. It was Cersei who decided to arm them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because she gave them power.
And she thought that she could arm them and use them to do her dirty work.
Yeah, okay.
That's one of the instances of where Cersei thinks she's so smart and thinks she's so many steps ahead. But as her father said, I don't distrust you because you're a woman. I distrust you because you're not as smart as you think you are.
Yeah.
Perfect example.
Yeah, she really messed up there. And even without that context, I knew she did. Because she just let them in. It's like the same mistake where, like, Ares let Tywin in to the city when the city was like, they needed help. And they're like, come on in, we need help. And then Tywin just sacked the city. And
it was Grandmaster Pycelle who convinced Daenerys to open up the gates.
Yeah. Yeah. And the next part is the Dance of Dragons. Is this something that is spoilery at all?
Are you planning on watching the Dance of Dragons? I'm sorry, House of the Dragon? Might be.
Oh.
It might be.
So
yeah, I don't remember exactly what's in here, but it might be.
Yeah, we do plan on watching that. So when the next season comes out, I'm gonna release it. So as soon as the episodes are rolling out, we're watching the episodes when they come out.
Yeah.
So House of the Dragon is essentially the story of the Dance of Dragons, and the Dance of Dragons is the story of the Civil War. Okay. So that's the topic.
Yeah, so we're probably, we're definitely probably going to skip that, because I don't want to completely...
Tall Tyrion Lannister also says to skip it. Safer that way.
Oh, you're here.
Yeah, big spoilers. So yeah, best to avoid it.
Okay, that's fine. We did.
There's so much. This is why I love doing Histories and Lore so much.
Yeah.
You get so much more information than what you're given. Oh, I want all of it. And all your questions, it's right there. It's great.
Now that you're at the end of the Histories and Lore, how do you feel about the House Black and White?
It makes way more sense.
Yes, it does.
I'm very, like, I love the fact that we were in the dark for it. And now that I understand, like, a lot more of it, I like trying to piece together what I think is going on. Definitely, like, more... I appreciate that moment of getting through it on my own and then figuring it out after. I think it increases my what is that?
Enjoyment?
Like my buy-in. Like buying into it, like trying to figure it out. If I was aware of everything, it would just be like, oh, this is happening. Like, are you guys... I didn't even know anyone else was in here, but we've been so into it. Any more questions for us? Or any questions in relation?
When are you doing season 6, episode 1?
It will be... next week we're doing Dune. We're doing our typical, like, off week. So we're doing the Dune movie and probably an episode of House of Cards. And then we'll start the next week on the 13th, Game of Thrones. And we probably could do... It depends. Like, we could do the first 3 episodes and give you all of them. And then do the typical, I give you a bunch of episodes and then take the weeks off. Because I have a lot of editing to do. I've been editing since I started to feel better pretty much every day, all day long, whenever I'm not working.
That's amazing. And the books, are you doing those as well, or are you taking a break from those?
We'll still do the books.
Okay, perfect. Alrighty.
Yep. I don't know if any of you saw.
That's exciting.
I did.
Yeah. The Lords and Ladies. It's still a work in progress. I'm currently trying to do more art for it. I have a tool that makes drawing I make into stained glass, so I'm using that tool to make the stained glass effect. But yeah, it's been cool to do stuff with this, and just another way of us trying to like branch out and grow the channel.
I didn't really like the color of the hoodie.
Yeah, there's different colors you can choose.
Okay, maybe put it on another one as an example.
Yeah.
Because this one looks very beigey, grayish something. So I think, a little bit of a more brilliant color would be better, I think.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
We have I can select with the website, I can select 8 different colors. So there's a red, there's a purple, there's like a green, there's a yellow, there's a bunch of, and then there's 3 neutral tones. This is one of them, like a brown, a gray, and a black. So I did like poppy colors, like a few poppy color ones, and there's a lot of other things too. There's like shirts and all sorts of other stuff like that. Obviously, I'm not like trying to push. It's just an option for people to support in different ways. And I'm trying to do everything I can to grow the channel so I can eventually get someone to edit for us, like pay someone to edit more so we can get more out. Like the goal is to do like at least 2 episodes a week. 2 episodes a week and 1 movie a month. Because the Green Mile movie boosted the channel by a massive amount.
That was to be expected because it's one of the big ones.
Yeah. It was a massive growth overall. I mean, not like as much as I would want, but like to make a big difference, but it definitely did something. If you wanna go stretch, you can.
Yeah.
I know you're probably stiff.
Do you have any questions now at the end of season 5 and going into season 6?
I think everything was clarified very well. A lot of the plot points, like obviously the faith thing was confusing to me. The House of the Undying was a little confusing to me. All of which was completely like summarized well enough for me to have a good feeling towards it. Now, I honestly don't. That's why this will be posted as a video, so you can go back and watch it later. And I haven't posted Dune yet because it's having copyright issues. And I definitely need more time to get it around YouTube because you're blocking it in 20 different ways. I'm definitely going to need like another 50 hours with the Dune thing. I've only done part 1, and I haven't even tried to do part 2 yet. So
I remember we were talking about a list of movies that would be beneficial to put into reactions because they perform very well as reactions. A few of them I know you've watched. I've seen a big resurgence of Lord of the Rings reactors, by the way, which is interesting.
Yep, I have too. I actually been getting back into watching reactions, which I think helps me see where the reaction space is at in total, see what kind of new techniques people are using. And I've enjoyed few reactions lately, actually. I don't generally enjoy people's reactions because they seem so vapid, but there's been some really
They
good
usually
ones
are.
lately. Yeah. Oh, that's another question. It's not to do with Game of Thrones at all, but actually probably 2 or 3 questions. What have you been watching any like Game of Thrones reactors, like notable ones lately?
I think I've watched all of the reactors of Game of Thrones. The
I'm
ones
just
that
saying
I
like recently.
Yeah. There's one lady who's doing a reaction. There are a couple of ladies who are doing reactions now on Game of Thrones, and one of them is on season 3, episode 5. So it's coming. The Red Wedding is coming. Everyone's waiting for that.
Yeah.
And the other one is a little bit further along, and she's in season 4.
Okay.
And before the Mountain and Viper, and that's going to be another one that's going to break her heart, I think.
Yeah.
And they're pretty okay. It's not a very deep kind of analysis, but they are insightful enough that they pick up on some kind of logical, like human things, which is the most interesting part in Game of Thrones. But they're fresh enough that their surprise is enjoyable when stuff happens. So if you want, I can share those with you because they're further back than you are. So you're not going to get spoiled anyway.
I mean, you don't need to share the channel if you don't want to. I'm just curious, like, if anyone was like going crazy with Game of Thrones, like really good reactions.
I think the really good ones, the one that I personally liked the most was Bridgeco, and it was also a couple, and they had this very cool banter between them. Oh, and then there's what's the name? The two guys who are friends, very young, and they are also quite fun. I can send you the actual channels. It's not a problem. It's just if you want them, I definitely shared them with you.
Yeah, you can send them to me. I probably have them subscribed because I recently have gone through YouTube and subscribed to every single reaction channel I can find, which was like 350 different ones, just so I can get like a look at my subscription page and get like an idea of what's going on.
Paul Tyrion Lannister says that it would be fun to see you react to a Tarantino movie. Have you guys watched any of those?
I haven't seen the one he asked for, but
which one?
I think it says Maple.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, we've seen. Oh goddamn, what's it called? It's one of the most watched videos on my channel. Pulp Fiction is on the channel.
Wasn't there another one
that has 8,000 views on it? No, we haven't seen any other Tarantino.
What about Kubrick?
No, we haven't seen that. We've only watched in totality.
I've seen a lot of Full Metal Jacket reactions flying around lately. And I'm trying to find reactors. It's very hard. I have one series that I absolutely love.
We've already watched Interstellar on the channel. We've watched 22 movies so far.
There's this series. It has 4 seasons, and it's widely considered to be a masterpiece. It landed the ending perfectly. The finale is fantastic, and the journey is great. It's very light-hearted.
Yeah.
It's the same guy who made The Office.
Oh.
If you know The Office.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I haven't seen it.
Right, so it's the same guy, and it's essentially a pretext to talk about moral philosophy.
Okay.
But it's fun, and it's really well done. So if you guys want to give it a spin, it's really good. It's called The Good Place.
Okay. The Good Place. I'll write it down.
The Good Place is fantastic. It's so great. And beware of spoilers.
For The Office? Or spoilers for what? Oh,
the
for
Good
the
Place.
show?
The Good Place, yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm pretty good with that. Yeah, we've watched The Breakfast Club, War of the Worlds, Pulp Fiction, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, John Wick, The Big Shawshank Redemption, Hacksaw Ridge,
Matrix, Gran Torino.
The Matrix, The Gran Torino, Interstellar, The Notebook, Grease, the movie, the Terminator movie, the second Terminator movie, Good Will Hunting, Aliens, Alien and Aliens, Die Hard, the movie, Rain Man, the movie, and then The Green Mile was the last one we did.
You should do The Sixth Sense as well. That's another one that does very well in reactions.
I've seen that does really well. Another one I've seen that does really well is the Arcane anime.
Oh yeah, I've seen that flying around, but it's not my cup of tea.
We're thinking about doing an anime channel, like a completely separate channel for anime.
Oh, he's right. Band of Brothers is so good. Have you seen it?
I have seen it. She has not.
It'd be interesting to do it with that format, you know?
Yeah.
Wife sees Band of Brothers for the first time.
I actually had Band of Brothers on a DVD player, and we had a school history class where we didn't really do anything for a week, and I brought the DVD and we watched Band of Brothers in my class, and I got to see the reactions of the students. I was I was doing reactions in my school.
So good. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Harry Potter, we need to do something special for that. We can't just watch it.
You've never watched Harry Potter?
Oh.
We've both watched Harry Potter. That's what I'm saying. We need to find someone who hasn't.
Yeah.
Okay. The Hunger Games?
Nope. Gladiator, nope.
Hunger Games is a good one. Very well liked in reactions.
There's quite a bit. We have Dune 1 and Dune Part 2 to edit up and get out, which are going to be the next few months of movies. And yeah, we started House of Cards, but House of Cards blocks worldwide.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
House of Cards does not allow any footage whatsoever. So I have to figure out how to even make that into a video.
Which is why I guess I haven't seen House of Cards reactions anywhere.
Yeah, there are some, but they're probably just managed to get past copyright, because YouTube copyright is ridiculous. I uploaded 2 of the same exact videos yesterday, and one got copyrighted and one did not.
And then you went back, changed it, they got copyright.
Yeah.
That sucks. What about Disney movies?
Disney's kind of hard too, for the same reason. Disney has such an iron grip over there. So it's just a lot of getting around copyright. I edited a few Disney movies. We'll do it eventually. It's just I don't have the manpower to do it. I don't have the people to coordinate that work to get that all done. It's a lot of it. And I can't find I work for reaction people, and I asked for so little money, the amount of money that no one will ever work for.
Yeah.
I was doing it for $20 a video at one point, and putting 12 hours per video in, so I was getting no money back, basically working for free. And I'm never gonna find something where I can do that. And I use all the tools I can to make the process better, but
it just takes a lot of time. You can't do anything about it. It just takes a lot of time.
Yeah. And we don't have I want to start a new channel, because I think the more nets I can, the better the outcome of catching a different audiences that could overlap, that we can shout out other channels and kind of get a feedback loop going, where we're not just trying to draw from one source. The good thing about Game of Thrones is it's a huge IP, but that not everyone's watching Game of Thrones. So we've run out of people to pull into the system through Game of Thrones, which is the good thing is Game of Thrones huge. The bad thing is that we're so small we can't do anything else but Game of Thrones, without missing a week of Game of Thrones. Because last week I did The Green Mile, but I couldn't release a Game of Thrones at the same time. And I see other reactors come out and then they have 50,000 subscribers in 2 months, and I'm like, oh my god, give me a quarter of that, please, and I can catch up. Doing a reaction channel is so much about momentum. You need the momentum. So if I start a new channel, I'm gonna make sure I have a dozen videos done, and so I can get some momentum going.
There's this reaction channel. They started doing Game of Thrones a few months ago, but I'm telling you, the first days they had out one episode a day.
Yeah.
It was insane the amount of people they managed to draw in during that like first weeks, kind of 3 weeks,
Yeah.
one episode a day. We were binging like crazy, and it was so satisfying because we got very quickly to season 3.
Yeah.
Which is like the first milestone, essentially. When you see a new reaction channel, you're like, okay, they're starting now. We're waiting for them to get to episode 9, Death of Ned, and then the next one is the death of Robb Stark and the Red Wedding. But it takes time.
Yep. That's why, like, they were smart to do. They had already watched probably 2 seasons before they posted a video.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which is a good way to do it. Like my one friend who took a year off from reactions and he came back to do it, and he did the same thing, but he didn't have the same effect as a brand new channel. Like even if we did that now, even if I took a year off and just came back and then put out like video after video, I don't know, something in the YouTube formula has already determined that we're what we are. So a new channel is like key to starting that.
Yeah, the is insane, and it's always changing, so it's really hard to gauge a strategy based on what's going on, because there's really so many variables that you don't even know what they are.
Yeah, it's been and I still believe in a slow is fine strategy. It's just going to take a long time, because if you mess up a fast strategy, there's really no, if someone starts and they have a ton of videos out and they don't do well, you're still in the same situation. And it really depends. It depends on personality, it depends on appearance, and all of that. Generally, a friend group does better. Plus, they have more people to do the editing. Like, it's generally just me. And I'm trying to do, like, extra content and not speed run the reactions and spend more extra time with it and kind of redefine what a reaction is, so I don't step on anyone's like favorite IPs and I'm just like, all right, next one. Give people time to enjoy it, but again, that's like shooting myself in the foot. Yeah. Blind Wave does good group reactions. There's another one.
I don't really like the ones where there's so many of them that someone's always talking.
Yeah.
And there's never a moment where everyone's paying attention.
Like a group of like college kids.
The norm is such a group where someone's always saying something because it's such a big group.
Yeah, the thing is, they depend on that to make their editing process faster too. The more that you talk, the easier to get it past you is. Yeah. So having a group of 5 people just constantly talking over everything is annoying for the watcher, but it makes it so you don't have to edit at all.
Yep, you just
take out
random things like swear words and boom, done.
That's something I've realized too, and you've probably noticed we talk a lot more. And at the point of that is the editing process. We don't have to cut out things. We can just cut back and forth from something and then our reaction to it, something and then our reaction. It's so, oh my god. It's so counterintuitive to a good viewing experience though.
I'm still looking for a definition of what a reaction video even is, because I've been trying to nail it down for the book I'm writing.
Yeah.
And it's shifting. It's not a video essay about a certain piece of content. It's also not just doing something together within the audience. It's also not just the emotional reaction to something. It's all of these things merged into one.
Yeah.
And although it's okay, we all know what a reaction video is, do we really? What makes a reaction video? You know, the anatomy of it.
Yeah, I can only really give opinions on that. I think people who don't understand reactions probably see reactions as people just watching movies and like kind of
always interrupting or just all the time.
Like not understanding. Like I had a comment the other day that I deleted just said these people are charlatans. They've seen all these things before. You're being fooled. Don't fall for it. You all need to get a life. You need to grow up, and like a bunch of random ranting.
Come on, man.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god. But I don't know. It's a lot about nostalgia for a good reaction. Like, you need to have an audience that has nostalgia for a property. And then generally people who are just watchers don't really have nostalgia. They're just watching to see a reaction towards something. And I think reactions are an extension of the internet's trying to create like an open space, like a market square, or like a real life space that people can interact in like they do in real life, to watch someone watch something that they really like, or have a friend that they come invite over, and like it's a replacement of that where you can't get it, or you aren't as like, we don't go out and do those things much, so we look for the yep, good to have you here. So I think it's more of that, where we're trying to replace what used to be physical experiences with people like in our community.
It's become essentially.
Yeah.
And you can create these micro communities around beloved topics, even regardless of location, which I get. There's also a very big one, a very big segment from what I've seen that thrives on exactly the correct reaction to a certain shocking scene, right? And it's come to a point where if the reactor isn't doing exactly what you would want them to do, it's not satisfactory, right? And you get comments like, why are you doing this while that happens, right? Why aren't you sad or crying or whatever when that happens? It's kind of it becomes maybe formative in a way.
It very much is.
Right. Where you have to do the exact thing that is needed in the exact way that that person wants it so that they enjoy it, which I've essentially, I've compared to another branch of video products that exists in the world, essentially, that people use in the same way, right? Where you search for the exact thing that you like in the exact position that you like it, and then you enjoy it, right? Which is very strange, but it has the same kind of connotations, though.
Yeah.
Emotional rather than physical, though.
Yeah. Like, people crave authenticity, and I think that's the other side of the coin. There are some people who watch a reaction and don't want you to say anything. They don't want to hear anything. They just want to watch you watch it. And I've heard that comment before, like, you guys need to stop talking. You're talking too much. And like, there's so many different angles. I can like almost definitively say there is no reaction on YouTube at all that is 100% authentic, because every reactor is doing what they know generally the audience wants to see. So if I were to sit here and watch, if I were to think about like back in the past where I was watching some piece of media, I would never ever speak. And if someone spoke in the room, I'd be like, shut up, we're watching a TV show. Like, I would never speak ever. So
that comes with the fact that if you're speaking, then you're missing something. So what I've seen this with why are you talking so much? And it's very annoying, because you know that something very vital is being said during that scene, and they're just blabbering over it and not paying attention.
Yeah.
So I will come back to this, but there's one guy, I'm going to show you when you're done with like maybe season 6 or 7 of Game of Thrones, I'm going to show you this video of this guy. He's, yeah, I mean, I remember something from season 1, but I wasn't really paying attention. He was speaking over it all the time. And, you know, when people tell you in the comments that in season 1, everything is important and every piece of dialogue is essential.
Yeah.
It's true. You know, you have to be paying attention.
How many subscribers does he have?
You know? I will go and check. I have no idea.
It really depends on whether your comments are actually even being seen. Like, if he has a lot of subscribers already, generally, no one is reading the comments.
Yeah, he was the one who said this.
Yeah.
Because he was aware that he was supposed to be paying attention, but he didn't care at the time. Yeah. And then he was very sorry about it, but it was done, you know. Once you've seen the whole thing, and you're like, oh, damn it, you know, I blew it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it is hard. I get both sides of that. For someone who is, for one, trying to get across their personality and have people like hook on to their personality, because at the end of the day, like, we're watching shows and stuff, but you also have to hook people to your persona or they will never come back. There's plenty of things for them to go watch. So if you are not part of the experience, if you can be replaced by just another reactor coming by, they're never ever going to come back, and it leads to like negative growth overall. Like, you need to have some kind of semblance of a persona that people can latch onto and they know they're going to get, and they want to. A perfect example of this, I don't know if you like them, but Just Trust Ash.
I know them.
I would rate them as the most authentic reactors there are on YouTube, hands down.
Well, I wouldn't. Maybe she is that.
Yeah.
However, he's been caught lying about having watched something before.
Yeah.
So that kind of ruined it for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Nikki and Steve, the OG reactors. Do you know them?
Nikki and Steve.
Yeah. I think they are a lot more like down to earth, authentic than Just Trust Ash.
Yeah.
I don't like the flamboyant kind of, not the flamboyant. I don't like his kind of vibe. It's just something that I don't enjoy.
Yeah. I think he's like he does, like, at the point doesn't care what. There's like a curve to reactors, I feel. There's where you start out and you are just trying to get across your personality, and then the curve goes up where you are definitely not yourself. You are putting on an act. Everything you say is not what you would actually say, and you're completely fake in every way. And then I think there's a falling off where, like, you come back to, I am completely myself and I don't really care what I say, what I do, if I sound crazy or not. A magic in that I think, like, people are gravitated towards, that's like hyper animated, not like annoying. He is a little annoying, but I think he just has lost the care for trying to be something. I think he is like spastic, but I think that's his natural personality if I were to diagnose him.
I don't know him personally, so I don't know. But,
yeah,
you know, as you said, it's a matter of I'm consuming content online and I get to choose whomever I want to watch, right? Because there's so much stuff I can watch, and the number of hours in the day is limited. So it's not like there's a lack of stuff to do and watch online.
Yeah.
So if I were to choose, I would much rather watch something by Brad Evans, who's also flamboyant and very sparkly.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know him, but he's so funny.
Yeah.
Ash is not funny for me.
Yeah. I think he's over the top. And I think I'm just going off of like subscriber numbers, really, and like his arc in total, because I've seen all of these people like react to different things over the course of their career, like the last like 7-8 years of watching reactions, and I've just seen like the arc of it, of a lot of them, like the old ones, and that's Nikki and Steven.
Beware of spoilers, because they've done Game of Thrones like ages ago.
Yeah, they've done a lot.
And
a channel I do not like is You, Me, and the Movies.
Wait, which one is that? Let me check it out.
That is, I hate them so much. Their dynamic is so off. She half the time does not want to be there.
I've noticed that. Yeah, I know them. Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you the links to the channels that are behind you so that there's no spoilers. And I'm going to do the other ones once you're caught up because, I don't want to ruin it for you. But yeah, there's at least a couple of the kind of up and running Game of Thrones channels right now. They're doing great, like very well. Yeah. And the dynamic is essentially two guys, friends.
Yeah.
And they have a very good vibes and good banter and very down to earth kind of feedback on what's going on, So, and it's funny and it's relatable. And they've done something very cool. As I said, in the beginning, they were like publishing one episode a day. And then once they were caught up, they would do, like at the end of the episode, they would do like a phone call or some sort of call with someone who would guide them in the like unpacking the episode. So it was like, yeah. So what we are doing, but it was right after they watched it.
Okay, gotcha. Interesting. And my last question for you that I forgot: Are you embedded in any other reactor space like ours? Like
no.
Have you had any like one-on-one conversations with people before, or like extended?
I mean, not in this space. I have a lot going on in my professional life.
Yeah.
Which is related to this. I'm a digital strategist.
Yeah.
By trade. And this whole reaction thing was something that I just liked to watch in my free time. And then it became this book project. Mm-hmm. It's a hybrid where I want to see it from a more analytic point of view, let's say, But I haven't taken the time to, because it takes time, It's not it's an email that you send and that's it. We've been doing these kinds of talks and we've been doing stuff together for a while now. I just enjoy doing the stuff, finding the picture. It's relaxing for me and it's fine, but
yeah,
I just don't have the time to budget to do it multiple times.
And two, I'm just wondering how, like, for other reactors, how open they would be to like I'm an open book. Like, I let anyone who wants as much access to the channel and however to come in and ask questions, talk, chat. I'll give any amount of access to anyone who asks for it. Like, and you're really the only one who has gone through like whatever amount of access you want, I oblige. No one else really. Like, it's generally face value stuff. Oh, I'll send you a comment or like whatever.
As I said, it takes time.
Yeah.
So that's probably it. Yeah. And it's interesting that you mention this, but I follow a lot of reactors, but I've never had this feeling like there was any sort of openness to a real conversation. It feels like everything is already set up.
Yep.
Once they hit publish, everything is already set up.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
Yeah. That's exactly the thought process of the channel, was to create more of a slowed down, methodical, open, kind of for the fans type of environment for whatever type of media we're going through. And that idea I think it's an idea people want, right? They want to be more connected with people who are going through their favorite thing for the first time. But I don't think they know that's even an option. Like, there's an alternative. Like, what I'm trying to do is just be more available, I guess you could say, like, for a viewer. And that like idea hasn't really caught on. I've gotten a lot of comments recently that said like, I'm glad you're doing like a breakdown video. I'm glad you're doing like a deep dive and stuff like that.
I think the reason is because you're mixing two kind of different mediums, right?
Yeah.
So you're used to having the deep downs in forums and subreddits, in articles, blog posts, that kind of reality where we would do this 10 years ago and 15 years ago. We would go through Lord of the Rings forums and websites and whatnot, right? Yeah. And it was the same with Game of Thrones. If you think about it, Game of Thrones was published in the early 90s.
Yeah.
It had its own kind of fan base already back then for the books. and already all sorts of theories and all sorts of things that, discussions about how and why and blah, blah, blah. And then you have YouTube, which is a relatively new medium.
Yeah.
Although the video per se is not new, it's more than 100 years old. However, the shortness of it allows for different kinds of focuses.
Yeah.
So you have this kind of immediate endorphin releasing satisfaction.
Yeah.
But then you turn it into a video essay, which kind of gives you the same flavor of the previous medium, which was the written one. I think that's why it doesn't really work, although I do enjoy it.
Do you think it's more of the fact that people who are looking for a deeper experience don't generally tend to turn towards reactors who are surface level at best?
Just wait a second.
No problem.
So essentially, you have some Game of Thrones, not reaction channels, but like deep dive channels. And they have these very specific, very ultra specific kind of deep dives. And they're very informative. It's a true essay, right?
Yeah.
On that very small topic. Right. And I'm going to share this with you once you're done. I think one of those you've seen already, one of these channels. But he's very methodical, and he brings in both stuff from the books and the show, wherever there's more show than books, especially after season 5, essentially. Because what Martin says essentially is that the outcome is going to be the same. So the destination is going to be the same, but books and show are going to get there in different ways. Yeah. But for example, and I think we can talk about this without spoiling anything for you.
Okay.
Who sent the assassin to kill Bran?
Isn't this known?
It's not common knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, we know. Or do we?
I'm pretty sure I made a prediction in the book series, but I can't remember what the prediction I made.
I remember that chapter. Yeah. You think it was Cersei? I think that was the one you said. Do you think it was Cersei?
I definitely could be wrong. But yeah.
I mean, you still have the books in front of you, so it's really cool. But the thing is, for many of these things, the way that you know that they didn't do it is that in their POV chapters, they never think about it.
Okay.
Or they wonder who did it.
They just assume.
So you don't really... Martin never gives you the pre-chewed meat.
Yeah.
You have to figure it out by yourself, by process of elimination sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a lot of that. And I think not that I'm not used to like that kind of critical thinking, but it is something that I have to look out for more and do my own. I generally think about Game of Thrones probably more than I do when I'm in like a post reaction. I'm always thinking about what was that, and I can't always capture like these epiphanies I get, and sometimes they're fleeting, and then I think, oh, that's not what but there's a lot of times I'm doing thinking beyond the reaction that I can't really capture.
I mean, that's normal. Yeah. That's normal. And I think you're mitigating that, at least for those who are very passionate with the book reading.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's, it's not for everyone. And it's not a gratification that is instantaneous. It takes time to build up.
Yeah.
And it takes time to get to the nice, like the payoffs, So I think that's also a contradiction of what it is with reaction channels. Because the reaction channels, it's all about watching the person's face when the Reigns of Camera starts playing.
Yeah.
And if they don't, this is it. If the person doesn't realize that's the Reigns of Castamere and they're playing the Lannister song, it's a very big disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And it's hard to know when that's about to happen. It's say like you're in the middle of the street and a car is about to hit you, but you can like react to it, and you have a lot of like upper payoff time to like, I guess it's completely different. You have a lot of time to like completely get yourself in the right state of mind. But there's a lot of people who just cannot, like, they couldn't be bothered to.
Exactly.
And that's not because of the show or anything. It's just because that's how they conduct their life in totality. Like, they can't be bothered to do anything. So I guess that's
superficial. Yeah. Yeah. I get it. And that, I don't know if it's the same episode or if it's 2 episodes before, speaking about Reigns of Castamere. There's that scene with Cersei and Marjorie talking about the Reigns of Castamere and what happened.
Yeah.
So that's like the most that the show is giving you. Like, pay attention now, because next episode, it's going to be the Reigns of Castamere.
Yeah.
And then I think it was in Histories and Lore season 1 or 2 that Tywin talks about the song. But he just says they even made a quaint little song about it, and that's all they give you.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it's very subtle things, which is why I took my chances and prepared you by sending you the song beforehand.
Yeah. And you didn't spoil it whatsoever. Like, it was still shocking and surprising. It's a very difficult balance to strike, and not everyone can strike it. It's definitely not an easy thing to be a reactor, and I don't think I was a good reactor when I started at all. I had to learn how to react well, and I definitely know for a fact I will never be one of the best reactors. That is just a fact. Like, the vast majority of people will not like my personality or our dynamic, and it's never going to be that popular. So I'm playing the long game and hoping that people will realize what my total like plan is of creating more of a 2-part cycle of a reaction with like a follow-up, and kind of I see that as more of a depth of audience, more of a deep, like less like an audience that won't just walk away and be like, all they do is react. It's nothing. There's nothing unique about it. There's something I'm offering that no other place is offering. And I'm just hoping people eventually will start buying it.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. I like it, which is, why I've been hanging around for so long, So I think it's very interesting. And I wonder if one day maybe we could go over some like YouTube stats just for my research, book research, essentially, if you want.
Are you? I mean, you don't want to do that today, probably, but
no, not today.
Yeah, the stats aren't great, but I'll make it short. But yeah, you probably just want to see like the in-depth stuff, and honestly, I don't even look at it anymore because I'm too sick of trying to diagnose it. I haven't looked at this page in months.
Probably for the best, because I remember when you were looking at it all the time, you were super stressed all the time, and then you weren't anymore. So I guess that was better.
Yeah, it is for sure. Your channel's views are up 422%.
That's good. I'm curious about how the views count by day peak and die off in the long tail. That's one of the things that's very interesting to me.
It's gonna be very different for other channels. Mine is horrible.
That's all right. That's not a problem.
Yeah, because the more audience you have to absorb your thing, because generally it goes up to subscribers, you get a boost, it goes high, and then it goes low. The more subscribers you have, the longer the tail will be. So, because people aren't going to watch the video immediately. Like, sometimes it'll be like a day, 2 days, 3 days. But generally, half your audience is going to watch the video almost immediately. And so, like, 1,000 people will watch the video almost immediately. And then the tail will go, like, exponentially less and less. So, say I had 50,000 subscribers and 25,000 watched it immediately. And the rest of the 25,000 are going to watch it over a longer period of time. So, the tail will be, if I had 50,000 subscribers, would be amazing. But because I have so few, I'm getting like 1 or 2 views on a video per hour per day eventually. Like, the video basically goes down to no one watching it whatsoever. And once YouTube sees that, YouTube's video is dead. We're not putting it out. And the longer your tail is, the more chance of someone picking it up and then you gaining more. It's a feedback loop of you gain more and more the more you go up. And it's just about eyes and people who are going to buy into you. So
once you're done with season 6, I'm going to give you my own video. You'll be able to watch my video.
Okay.
Finally. Because that's when I recorded the interview right after the end of season 6.
Oh, okay.
And it's with the company that did all the jewelry for Game of Thrones. So that's just for you. Don't need to do anything with it. I mean, you can watch. It's interesting, I think. They explain how they did a bunch of, including like Sansa's poison necklace, for example.
Okay.
You know, the technicalities of it, the crowns, the everything, you know, really cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And I don't know about you, but I am starving.
I'm about to go to bed.
Yeah, I forget my time percent. My brain's just shot right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, no problem at all. It was really a pleasure. So, looking forward to listening to some more book chapters.
Yeah, I plan to do it probably tonight.
Ooh.
Or tomorrow night.
Okay.
Depends.
That's really cool.
How I recover.
That's really cool. I'm looking forward to that because there's a lot of good stuff coming up. And I've already told you all about how I changed the drive for that section.
Yeah.
I think it's much better now. So looking forward to that. And yeah, and the next Game of Thrones, which is going to be in about 2 weeks, I guess.
Yes. All stays the same, yes.
That's perfect. That's all right. Perfect. Well, say hi to Becca from me. All the best. And yeah, we'll be here around in the Discord if you need anything.
All right.
In the meantime. All right.
See ya.
Have a lovely rest of the weekend.
You as well.
All right. Thanks.
Bye. And that was our ending season 5 members. This will be going up as a video on the channel for members and on Patreon for members. So thank you all for being here, and give me your comments and whatever else you would like for those of you who missed it. I know everyone can't be here, but we like giving out the extra content for you all. So thank you.